Mr. Morrison.
Yeah.
Okay, good evening, everyone. I'd like to welcome you to the April 8th, 2024 Pine-Richland School Board Planning Meeting. To start, let's please join me for the standing for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, all right, thank you. Roll call, please, Mrs. Williams.
Mr. Morset.
Here.
Mrs. Turchick.
Here.
Mr. Kashani.
Here.
Mrs. Brusalis.
Here.
Mr. Cassidy.
Here.
Mrs. Fortier.
Here.
Mrs. Hillman.
Here.
Mrs. Miller.
Here.
Mr. Weethorn.
Here.
Thank you.
Okay. I want to make mention that the board did meet in executive session on Wednesday, April 3rd, 2024, to discuss a litigation matter related to a federal complaint regarding the AR 103B. Okay. Moving on to item 1.02, recognition of visitors. I would, before we go there, Mrs. Williams, I just want to remind everybody again, we do have a large crowd. We do go for 3 minutes per person. I'll give you a 15-second warning according to policy. We have allowed 60 minutes in total on the agenda. So when we reach that, we'll have to shift that, any speakers not able to speak, to the end of the meeting and try to capture that, which we have a 30-minute session there at the end. Please do not address the board individually, any board members, but please address them in totality. Okay, thank you. You may begin.
Okay, we do not have anybody online right now, so first speaker is Jay Schwerking. Is Jay here? You're up.
We rearranged the order of our speakers, so is it okay if Jay speaks last and I speak first?
Certainly, yeah, please go ahead.
Hello, school board members. My name is Abigail Bruce. I'm a senior here at Pine-Richland High School and the vice president of the Pine-Richland Gay Straight Alliance. The GSA Club creates a safe place for Pine-Richland students who are part of the LGBTQ+ community, but also for any students who want an environment to be themselves. Today, 2 other members and I are here to talk about the books being considered for review and possible removal from our library. We're here to advocate for easy access to information, greater acceptance and understanding of all students, and the ability for us and our peers to sit down with a good book of our choice and learn something new. We would like to bring attention to the fact that censorship doesn't help, it only harms, and we would like to say that the library, a place for free learning, stays that way. Some of the books that are up for reconsideration contain important messages and themes for some Pine-Richland High School students. We believe that some of these books aim to help students who need them at Pine-Richland. One example is Heartstopper, a graphic novel about a gay and bisexual teen navigating high school and their relationship. Another book called Beyond Magenta centers around 6 young adults, members of the trans and non-binary communities, who describe their struggles and their triumphs, their feelings and their experiences when dealing with their personal identities. I have read both of these books, and our GSA Club believes that they convey very important messages that some students need to hear. It is apparent that most students at Pine-Richland don't relate to these books. In fact, the majority of students at Pine-Richland probably don't even know these books exist, or whether they are in or out of our library. The important thing is that some students do need these books, and they deserve to have access to books that not only represent them, but also demonstrate how to support their friends and peers. PR upholds values of diverse opportunities and personal growth. I believe that these books make Pine-Richland a place with more diverse opportunities for students to read, as well as allow the students who need these books to grow as individuals.
Thank you, Abigail. Next speaker.
Sydney.
Hi, my name is Sydney Fleur, and I'm a junior at the high school. I want to start off by thanking the board members for allowing us to speak tonight as a community and as young adults representing the high school. We appreciate you hearing our voice. One of the books that is up for reconsideration is All Boys Aren't Blue, which celebrates the Black and queer through a powerful memoir lens. One of the quotes I want to share from the book reads as follows. When people ask me how I got into activism, I often say, the first person you are ever an activist for is yourself. If I wasn't going to fight for me, who else? This statement is what drove me to be in front of the board today. As a teenager, my voice matters in our school, and I want to represent all members of the GSA and others affected by the book reconsideration. By keeping these books, which are all centered on mainly queer people and people of color, more voices can share their stories and give students a feeling of validation from others who have been in their shoes. We would like the board to recognize that these books are vital to what the high school aims to stand for, a respectful and safe environment for every student. To me, these books are part of a larger system that functions smoothly when everyone feels as if they matter in our community. On behalf of the past, present, and future members of GSA, we hope that the board will hear our voices as we advocate for keeping these defining books in our library. Thank you.
Thank you, Sydney.
Jay Shirking.
Hello, school board and Pine-Richland community. My name is Jay Schwerking, and I'm a senior here at the high school and the president of our GSA. I would like to thank you for listening to our statements. We hope that if you're leaning towards removing the books up for review, you will, for the better of the students at Pine-Richland, reconsider. As a club that works to make this school a safer place, we have to hope that the right choice will be made. Students need access to books such as these so that they can better understand them and love themselves. Please do not take learning opportunities away from our school. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Jay.
Our next speaker is Brittany Kindersmith.
Good evening. I'm Brittany Kindersmith. I live in Richland, and I have 2 kids in the district. First, tonight I want to voice my support for the addition of Angel of Greenwood to the 9th grade ELA curriculum. I finished the book last week, and it was an engaging and important story. In my opinion, the protagonist's ages will help students relate to a historical event that happened over a century ago and foster discussion which would be applicable to lessons in other subjects like history, economics, and sociology. I trust the employees of the district, and I hope you will finally adopt this resource that they have chosen. Next, I want to mention that at the last meeting, the presiding officer stated that around 8 p.m., after roughly 43 minutes of public commentary, that he was glad there were no more speakers because the hour time limit was up. However, public commentary had not begun at 7 p.m. If the board intends to limit the public when it comes to our ability to address you, please ensure you are not violating Policy 903. A policy which I was surprised to see is up for review under Agenda Item 1002. I am curious why it is up for review when it was last looked at less than 2 years ago in April of 2022. This does not follow Pine-Richland School District standard procedure for regular policy review. Sorry, I've been sick. Which says that policies should be reviewed every 5 years, which is already way better than a lot of other districts do. Therefore, at best, it seems like board leadership is trying to shorten the length of the meetings, which could be accomplished by doing work in between public-facing meetings and coming prepared. At worst, though, it certainly looks like it is an effort by new board leadership to silence the community and our ability to communicate with the board. Public commentary is the only way we are sure you are exposed to our opinions. There are many of us who regularly do not receive any correspondence back from board members when we take time to engage with them over email, which begs the question that if anyone besides the board secretary is hearing our concerns at all. Finally, I want to thank the book review committee for their time. My eldest son, the 3rd grader, wanted me to remind everyone that Heartstopper is just a story about love and friends and being seen, like these kids here are asking for. And feeling seen is exactly what happened for him when he read it. All of the learners in our district deserve to have a reading experience with a book in the library like my son got to have with Heartstopper. Please leave it.
Thank you, Brittany.
Next speaker is Steve Calios.
Uh-oh. I need the other papers. Hold on. Oh, man. Okay. All right. My name is Steve Kutlenius, and I live at 945 Park Plaza in Wexford. I've been a resident since 2006, and I have no children in the district. So you might want to ask, why are you here? I am here because I've been proud to say I live in a district that has achieved great success in academics and athletics. This proposal to ban books has dimmed my view greatly, because throughout history, banning books has never been a good look. At the November 23rd meeting, I made the case that these books are about the triumph of the human spirit and, sorry, lost my place, and do not meet the Supreme Court's definition of obscenity. I have sent the board additional information. I reviewed that a group of speakers at October 23rd meeting stated their views in the school district was promoting pornography and filth simply by having 14 books available in the library. This is part of a national campaign that's promoted by Christian nationalists that are using their religious dogma to target the rights of women, people of color, and the LGBTQ+ community. One of the speakers even had the audacity to introduce a preacher from North Carolina as her roommate, even though he's married to his wife who lives in North Carolina. He then read the dirty parts of the books to prove their point that this is pornography. By the way, this preacher speaks at school districts all across the United States specifically for this purpose. I also sent the board a detailed remarks of the November 13th meeting where 80% of the people who attended were not in favor of the book ban. I sent you all this copy of the letter, or excuse me, the article from the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette that said that the books that are targeted for banning are almost never checked out. I had the Freedom from Religion Foundation send you a letter about their views on book banning, and they said if the board decides to ban the books based on some cherry-picked verses, then they must hold the Bible to the same set of standards and ban it as well. I encourage all members to view the 2024 Oscar-nominated short documentary, The ABCs of Book Banning. And lastly, most recently, the American Humanist Association sent you a letter stating that there's a possibility of a court battle if you violate the rights, the free speech of the students. This is the first board meeting I've attended. I drove here on Saturday to make sure how to get here. And to tell you the truth, this is a beautiful campus, all first class. But as I'm sitting in the parking lot in my car, I ask myself, what the hell's going on here? What are these people trying to do to our wonderful district?
15-second warning.
What's next on their agenda? Teaching creationism in science class? How can a community allow such a small group of people to have Pine-Richland become the poster child for banning books in Pennsylvania? I don't want to see...
Thank you. Time is up, but thank you very much. Next speaker, please.
I just want to say one last thing. I just don't want to see anywhere on the internet that Pine-Richland is the district that supports book banning. Thank you.
Our next speaker, Jessica May.
Hi, my name is Jessica May. My son is a first grader at Hants, and my daughter will join the Hants Hive in 2 years, and I wanted to talk about the counseling curriculum. My son and I are both diagnosed with ADHD. My diagnosis came in adulthood, and I'm grateful that his came at a young age so that we're able to make adjustments to help him succeed in school. A large part of this is the social and emotional support he gets from our school counselor and other support staff. I'm not concerned with how the rejection of social emotional lessons from the curriculum would affect my son. We have a great relationship with the support staff at our school. We have a clear plan on how to help him succeed and know that he feels secure and confident when he steps into the front doors at Hants. I'm also not concerned about these supports taking away from his academic studies as he grows. The implementation of social emotional content has not affected Pine-Richland's test scores, graduation rates, or college acceptance rates. Who I am concerned about is the child who's too embarrassed to share that their family is dealing with food insecurity. I'm concerned about the child who sees school as a break from an abusive household. I'm concerned about the child experiencing mental health crisis who's being told they need to suck it up or get over it. According to a 2023 report from the American Psychological Association, 20% of teens have seriously considered suicide. Talking about mental health struggles does not cause or worsen mental health struggles, but rather lets students who are struggling know they're not alone. Because what good is academic success if a child doesn't live to see their graduation day? Students in vulnerable situations need to hear that they aren't alone. Their parents would not be the parents to opt into the social and emotional curriculum for their children. And so by cutting the SEL portion of the counseling curriculum, you're taking away a valuable resource from the students who need it the most. When schools were closed due to COVID, many pushed for reopening, saying that students were missing the social and emotional aspects of in-person learning. Let's not forget that as we think about the kind of resources we want to offer to our students. I don't know if my daughter will interact with the support staff at our school when she's there, but I do know that if her sitting through a 20-minute social or emotional lesson that doesn't apply to her means that a child in her class can hear a message they need to hear and feel less alone, I consider that a masterclass on caring for others in her community. She might not be able to add that to her resume, but I know it will take her far in her professional and her personal life. Thank you.
Thank you.
Our next speaker is Ann Meyers.
Hi, my name is Ann Meyers. I live on Valley View Road. I have one student in the district. I'd like to begin with a quote from Ashley Perez, author of Out of Darkness. Reading is a gateway for understanding the human experience and a means to engage young minds about it. This has been true for me for as long as I can remember. I have always sought out books that were deep, meaningful, and challenging, ones that allowed me to safely explore aspects of life I may not have otherwise encountered. As a new parent, I looked for books to give me the words to express how much I loved my child. As she grew, I turned to books to navigate the complexities of introducing new concepts. When we moved here 7 years ago, books were there to guide us through. At home, we keep a stack of books to read together each night, and each week she excitedly tells me what she's chosen from the school library. Usually something about cats. She's a voracious reader with books scattered in her bed, where she reads them instead of sleeping. Though her choices may often revolve around feline adventures, each story adds another layer to her growing imagination and understanding of the world. I have no idea what books she might reach for in the future. Maybe it's none of these books under review, maybe it's all of them. But those books, all books, should remain where they belong, in our libraries, where they will be accessible to any child that might need them. There are already ways to respond to parental concern without disrupting other students' learning or access to books. When we talk about banning books, and make no mistake, that is what we are talking about here, with no policy, plan, or opportunity to ever reinstate a book. We're not just restricting access to words on a page. We're limiting their opportunities for growth and understanding. We're stifling the curiosity of young minds and robbing them of the chance to explore the diverse tapestry of human experience. Most of the books under review tell stories of people who are people of color or queer people or otherwise marginalized. If the issues were really sex, profanity, or violence, we would see far more books about white, straight, middle-class characters on this list. If the school board allows these books to be removed based on the words of a vocal few who are calling these books filth or obscene or pornographic, it sends a message more disturbing than any passage cherry-picked from one of these books. It sends a message to students that stories about people like these are not fit for our school, and the very existence of students who share these identities is controversial. Quality literature does not shield people from
15-second
uncomfortable
warning.
realities. It contextualizes it, fostering critical thinking skills and empathy. Let us embrace the richness and diversity of books and allow our students the opportunity to discover, learn, and grow through the power of storytelling. Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Joel Benson.
Joel Benson, Grandview Drive in Gibsonia. Just want to remind the board of the mission of the school district to focus on learning for every student every day, and the strategic plan that was developed for 2023 through 2027 that collected feedback from diverse perspectives that had well over 400 participants representing all the stakeholder groups. And just to remind you that the kids that just spoke up from the student body, one of the goals of the teaching and learning section of the plan is to promote the students' voices throughout the year, encourage self-advocacy and ownership of learning for this school year, 2024. Also, just to remind you that one of the things that it says under the section of long-term goal number 2 is that increasingly a one-size-fits-all approach does not provide the flexibility to meet varied needs. And so I would encourage the board not to get rid of any of the books that are up for consideration or to squash the plans of the counseling program that are before the board. Give the parents that want that a chance to opt out if they would like to do that. But saying from one perspective that all the parents have to abide by just a small group of the people and their views is not what this school district is about. This is a political agenda that comes from the Council for National Policy and all the groups that fall under the umbrella of that particular group. And they are not for education for everyone every day. And so I would encourage you to reject the book bans. Just want to leave you with one thing, since I come from a Christian perspective, is that God's truths are not rocks to throw at people, they are bread to feed people. And these books are bread to feed people and to help them. Thank you.
Thank you.
Our next speaker is Cynthia Jackson.
Hello, my name is Cynthia Jackson. I've lived in Richland since 1984. I had 4 children graduate from this school district. They've all achieved master's degrees and are doing well. Thank you. I want to thank you for drawing this book to my attention. I wouldn't have read it. But I found out, because I found out about the school board and what was happening, that this was being questioned. So I chose to read it and find out why. I'm 77 years old. When you read this book and you've had struggles, a journey, loss, hurt, whatever in your life, you will relate to the book. It's not about white people, it's not about black people, it's about human beings, and we all experience these kinds of events. I learned from this book. If I'd read this when I was in high school, I might not have got married when I was 21, and that would have been a good decision. But I didn't know myself well enough to be able to do that. That's just the truth. This was soul food for me, and that's what I value in life. I shared with Joel, who I was talking with earlier tonight, that I attended an iftar at the mosque down the road on Richland Road, I guess it is, a few years ago. And there was a mom there who was sitting talking to me. And she said, "Oh, that's my daughter," because there was a little girl waving at her in the arms of a man. And she said, "She likes to know where I am." She was 7 years old. When she was 5, she needed a heart transplant. So she was at Children's Hospital and she got a heart. Did she get a Christian heart, a Jewish heart, a Muslim heart, a Hindu heart, an atheist heart? She got a human heart. And I hope you will remember that the most important thing you can give to anybody graduating from the school system is a heart for people and a heart for caring and simply an awareness of their neighbors. And however you do that in the choices you make will be beneficial to the kids here and their families. Thanks.
Thank you.
Our next speaker is Brianna Bar.
Good evening. My name is Brianna Bar, and I live on Richland Road. I'm a mother of 4 young kids, with one at Eden Hall and one at Hants. We specifically moved to Pine-Richland several years ago because of the school's stellar reputation. If we had known then the direction this district would be heading, we'd have stayed far away. I was appalled at last month's meeting, where we had parents and board members demanding the bare minimum from our curriculum. It felt surreal. Never would I have thought do the bare minimum would be a cry from any parent, let alone championed by the board. It was utterly shameful. When did do the bare minimum become acceptable? Is this our new standard moving forward? Is this how we're going to maintain our standing in the area and continue to provide the best possible education for all of our kids? I'm still unclear on what the actual concern is. What invisible threat are we supposedly projecting onto our school counselors? My board rep didn't utter a single question or concern last month before voting no. Where's the accountability, the transparency, the engagement? Many of you ran on parental rights. Where exactly are my rights being represented? I should have the right to demand our district do everything they can to help my child. Where's my right to expect nothing but the best from our district and to never settle for the bare minimum? I implore you to revisit passing the comprehensive counseling curriculum. Our school counselors are good people with all of our students' best interests in mind. You could learn a lot from them. In other embarrassing topics, I'd also like to revisit book bans and remind folks that yes, the year is 2024, not 1924. Yet here we are in a top district in the area with the topic still circulating. Freedom of speech, freedom of expression, freedom of thought. These are all pretty big ideals in the good old USA. Yet we have individuals who feel they should be able to limit 4,000 students' access to a book because they didn't like it, let alone if they actually even read it themselves. Where's the freedom in that? One of the most monumental tasks our children are learning, and all of us are still learning, hopefully, is how to think for themselves. Please reconsider the message that entertaining these book bans is very clearly sending. As it's no coincidence that these books overwhelmingly feature LGBTQ characters, that you do not agree with, nor do you support these individuals, and any individuals that differ from you, for that matter. We have parents voluntarily pulling their children from school to spend time at the church next to Eden Hall, while they also bemoan a handful of hours of counseling curriculum spread over the year as, quote, taking time from their education. Make it make sense. You can't have it both ways. You can't champion parental involvement and choice while eliminating anything that doesn't agree with your ideals. Where's the freedom in that? You can't pull your child from school to attend Life Wells while feigning concern that the 2 hours of counseling curriculum is time lost on your child's education. If you want the guiding principles of your child's education to be faith-based, then by all means, send them to a religious school. But you cannot bend public education to suit your narrow views. Keep your politics
15-second warning.
and your religion at home. Please consider what you're hoping to gain by continually trying to strip away from our children's education. Please explain how these policies and decisions possibly benefit our students. Please listen to the very
Okay,
brave
time's
and
up,
eloquent students that spoke here tonight. Please do better.
All right, thank you.
Our next speaker is Mike Barber.
What's up, Mike Barber? I live on Richland Road. I wrote an email, didn't receive any replies except from one of my our vice president. So I'm going to read it today. I want to offer my support for Angel of Greenwood and encourage my representatives to pass this book into our 9th grade curriculum. As far as library book bans, I'm opposed to removing any of these books. I believe a person should have to read the book at the very least to challenge the book. I also support the K-12 comprehensive counseling curriculum and would like you to reconsider passing it. After sitting through and speaking at the Marathon Board meeting on March 11th, I have some questions and would appreciate responses. My newest Region 2 representative, why are you dismissing our highly qualified counselors' curriculum? As the only elected public official not to actively participate in the discussion regarding the K-12 comprehensive guidance counselor curriculum, I would like to understand your vote. Since you did not mention concerns regarding our guidance counselors in your campaign, what in your short 2.5 months on the board has led you to your vote without asking a single question or uttering a single word or posing a single question to our counselors? Since your vote suggests you want Pine-Richland to only meet the minimum requirements, what is your vision for our guidance counselor curriculum? Is your vision only meeting the bare minimum to support our students, or do you have other expectations that you chose not to share with the community at the March 11th board meeting? My other representative who has never responded to me, why are you only asking for the resources this late in the process? As a regular parent who does not have the access a sitting board director like you does, I am confused why you were so surprised our elementary school counselors used an assortment of picture books. Why did you not take it upon yourself to visit your children's elementary school counselor if you were so concerned? The bookshelf stuffed full with an overflowing amount of picture books right next to the table Hance Elementary School's outstanding counselor, Miss Godino, meets with students is hard to miss or forget. So do you think these books were simply there for decoration, or are you dismissing her and her co-workers' hard work without having visited her office? Why are you once again seeking a recommendation from PR's highly qualified educators at the 11th hour? If you are this concerned, then please prepare better so you are not wasting so many people's time, energy, and effort. Mr. President, I am once again asking you, as our board president, why did you prioritize shifting Dr. Miller to the side and removing our assistant superintendents from the main table? It felt like you were trying to send a message then with the shift at your very first meeting as president, and your votes have definitely made it clear to me that you want the board at the center of our children's education, not the trained professionals who built the reputation that has attracted so many families to PR.
You got a 15-second warning.
Your campaign claimed they wanted to promote parent involvement. I am at every meeting. I speak at every meeting. I serve on Hant's PTO board. I volunteered as a homeroom parent that benefited my representative. So why are you ignoring this heavily involved Pine-Richland
Time's up.
parent?
Next speaker, please.
I look forward to your non-responses.
Next speaker is Marcy Fiser.
Hi, everyone. Marcy Fiser, 529 Madison Drive. I have 2 students that are under the Pine-Richland umbrella. I'm here tonight to address the board members and administration about the issue of book removal from the school library. Thank you to the Book Review Committee and Dr. Miller for your time and effort reviewing those books in a comprehensive manner. I really appreciate that. The problem with setting guardrails or restrictions is this is a public school. The needs of each student is important in a public school, the way their family wants them to be met. Our Pine-Richland community has students of various genders. There are girls, boys, people who are trans, and people who are non-binary in this school. There are people of different races, religions, non-religions, and abilities, and they are all equally valuable in our Pine-Richland community. That takes abstract reasoning and planning to make books accessible to the kids and teens who are reading them and accommodate the needs of families who want them to be restricted. I have never put a restriction on the content that my teen has read, even when he was younger. I have even offered different books, and he has the independent thinking to say that he would like to read it or no, he isn't interested in that. Then we talk about the content. How else are teens supposed to discuss mature topics with their parents if books with mature topics are removed from the school library? Children and teens have different maturity levels. That is even represented in my household. We can't hold back the independent and mature ones to meet the needs of others whose parents want them to be restricted in their choices. I recommend reviewing with the ones who take books out that have mature topics to not share them with students at school to accommodate the needs of those who want more restrictions. The viewpoint that students can get books at the public library does not make sense and function. My Pine-Richland High School son has not gotten a book out of the public library since early elementary school. All books he has taken out have been from the school library, book fairs, or I've bought collections from other parents from the summer reading list of the previous years. It is essentially a soft ban on books to eliminate access to public school students by removing books from the school library. It is important to me that people who are generally discriminated against be represented in public school. I would like to see more books with characters who are diverse in race, diverse in gender, and diverse in ability. When I go to Target and I see ads with individuals with different abilities modeling the clothing, I feel that my family is represented. It is part of feeling connected to your community and helps to promote acceptance by others when diverse groups are represented the way they want to be
15-second
represented.
warning.
I am also concerned that the board members have been voting on issues but have not stated publicly their rationale for their vote. It does not promote trust of the community when you individually do not state why you are voting as you are. I would like transparency publicly
Time is
from
up.
board
Thank you
members
for speaking.
on all issues requiring a vote. Be confident in your rationale, but be transparent with the parents
Your
and
time
community
is up, please.
why you were voting
According
as
to
you are.
policy. Thank you.
Next speaker is Teresa Dawson.
Hello. Board Policy 109 is about library books, and the policy states that the superintendent has the final say on any challenges to the books. So I want to thank Dr. Miller for using the policy to come to the conclusion, using 5 staff members and 5 community members as the policy states. to render that decision. I see that on the agenda this evening you have an update. So thank you for your participation in the policy and holding it to its outcome. The board has no opinion on the books. So I thank you for not having an opinion on the books, because the policy as such prevents you from having an opinion on the books. Because in its current form, the policy removes your opinion. So please don't have one. I'm asking you not to have one, because I don't want to hear your opinion. I would like you to know that policies can be reviewed at any time. They don't need to be reviewed every 5 years. They can be reviewed at any time. A concern about Policy 109 is not about removing books. Books should not need to be removed. Books should be necessary to support the curriculum and the goals of education. The process by which to adopt the books in the first place is where the policy should be revisited. Thank you for your time, and thank you for not having an opinion, school board.
Thank you. Next speaker.
Next speaker is Laura Beth Matulovich.
Hi, Laura Beth Manilevich. I live on Pierce Mill Road. My daughter's going to be starting kindergarten next fall. As you deliver your verdict about the challenged books, I ask you to humble yourselves and consider that you might not know everything. Just think about it. That not everyone has the same experiences or beliefs as you. That not every kid has a family who has the support, the knowledge, and the resources needed to support them and their emotional needs. I have so many things I want to say tonight, but as usual, I have to keep it to 3 minutes, so I'm trying to keep this short. The stories that are up for review tonight, far from harmful, they give individuals often marginalized and erased elsewhere the validation that every child inherently deserves. At school. Do you know how important that can be? How powerful that can be? For just one person even? So please, consider that tonight. Consider that free societies read freely. And please, continue Pine-Richland's reputation of excellence and set our kids up, all of our kids up, for success. Do not ban any of these books. And pass the social and emotional learning curriculum, you guys. Come on.
Our next
Thank you.
speaker is Shelley Rinaldo. Is she here? Oh, okay. Next speaker, Stacy Coons.
Good evening. I am Stacy Coons. I live on Laurie Road in Richland Township, and I am forever proud of my 10th grader and my 5th grader. And restricting books severely limits human growth. Verbal and typed words destroy people or save people. Consequently, reading is our superpower. Regardless of Dr. Miller's report, interpreting novels is a fundamental human right, allowing us to transcend time, setting, age, gender, and experience. We learn the most exponentially crucial life lessons from reading about other encounters that are unique from our own. So what's inherently wrong with reading historical fiction or nonfiction about contrasting societies? After all, we empathize when comprehending what we can't experience, becoming productive citizens who contemplate mistakes to establish progressively successful lives for future generations. As accurately stated in the previous meeting, thinking is allowed to evolve as you become more educated. Interestingly, the challenged books are listed on booklooks.org, run by a couple with ties to the extremist Moms of Liberty, who purposely engage in student exclusion. Booklooks is ingeniously advertised as a credible resource for curious parents. Every title catalogs objectionable quotes, but no information exists about who assesses the books or their qualifications. Furthermore, the excerpts have no context relating to the entire narrative, so uncultured people profess their forged morality by challenging books they never even read. Obviously, websites like this are unethical, and people who believe distorted online information only reveal their ignorance. Accordingly, book banning is a misguided, unhelpful, and immoral approach to changing curriculum. Also, as stated around the 3-hour 13 mark of the aforementioned meeting, I have an opinion on this that's based on education and on being a parent. So I beg you, please stay out of my lane because I decide what my children read. One reason why students attend school is to learn about people who act and think differently in order to gain respect and tolerance for other humans. Learning valuable insight inspires social awareness. This is the PR way. Quite frankly, you don't understand more about books than certified librarians and ELA teachers. You don't know best practices for students more than certified counselors, and you absolutely don't understand implementing curriculums better than certified administrators, so please stay out of their lanes too. I sincerely hope you transition to meaningful curriculum decisions like approving Angel of Greenwood.
15
I would like
second
to hear a
warning.
discussion incorporating how text evidence from that book creates themes contributing to an interpretation of the work as a whole. Thank you so much for listening.
Thank you.
Next speaker is Jenna Bruce.
Good evening, Jennifer Bues. I live in Richland. I have 3 kids in the district and 1 recent graduate. I'm tonight going to read an anonymous letter from a teacher at Pine-Richland, one of the elementary schools, relating to the guidance counseling plan. It's not a sign of weakness to defer to someone who knows more than you and lean on their expertise to help you through a situation. Rather, I would say it's a sign of strength to know when others can help you. That's what guidance counselors do. They help. They help students, educators, they help the community. Children are not born with the abilities needed to navigate their world. Those skills are learned and developed over time. Yes, many of those needed skills are learned at home from family, but not every child has the home life and support that so many of us have been blessed with. We can't assume that because we had the support and help we needed at home that everyone had the same upbringing. Additionally, there are many skills needed specifically at school that might not be learned and developed at home. That's especially where guidance counselors help students. Whether it's helping them navigate their school world or just helping them continue to own and develop skills needed in life in general, guidance counselors are invaluable to many students' lives. In helping students, guidance counselors also help educators. As I said earlier, it's not a sign of weakness to defer to those who can help. Educators are equipped to deal with so many issues at school, but ultimately we are trained to teach. Counselors are trained to help students. I know what my capabilities are, and I also know when to ask for help. I could not do what I do without the help of our school counselors. So many times through the years, I have leaned on guidance counselors to help me and my students. They are truly the lifeblood of any school. Whether helping students deal with issues or equipping them with much-needed life skills, it's their expertise in helping students that helps a school run smoothly. Lastly, by assisting students and educators, counselors are helping their community. Indirectly, counselors help their community by helping students develop into good community members with the ability to deal with other community members in a civil manner. Directly, counselors help their community through difficult times. I personally have witnessed our counselors help community members and students alike deal with tragedy. They're often on the front lines helping during these situations because they know what to do. Why? Because they're always there to help. You're tasked with representing the community as a whole. You're tasked with representing the students as a whole. You're tasked with doing what's best for everyone in the district. Counselors know their task is to help all students and the community, and that's exactly what they do. Let them do their job. Don't take them and what they do for granted. And I would thank all of the board members for being attentive when the community members are speaking. Thank you.
Thank you.
Our next speaker is Julie Salvaggi. No? Okay, how about Katie Postrich?
Katie Postrich. I live on Gibsonia Road. 3 kids in the district, Eden Hall Middle School and High School. Many of you have heard, I sent several letters this past couple of weeks, and because I didn't get many acknowledgements, maybe only one, I am reading and have asked some members of our community to also read these anonymous letters. These are all coming from school staff members. I did reach out to all the school building counselors, and I did give them an opportunity to forward to whoever they felt would maybe be beneficial, or to reach out to all staff and provide any support for the counseling program that they might wish to anonymously, because I know it can be challenging as a teacher to also present with their name attached to anything for fear of jeopardizing themselves. So I've been given permission to read anything that I'm reading, and that anything that comes anonymous today, they've been given permission to read. So the first one actually comes from a concerned PR parent. And this says, effective teaching of social emotional skills in schools leads to children who are able to interact well with their peers. It also provides a structure about expectations in the classroom. I support the best practices plan organized by the guidance counselors. Pine-Richland School District has never been known for policies that provide for the bare minimum when it comes to supporting their students. Also, I implore you to listen to the upcoming recommendations from the Book Review Committee. Some parents will want their children and teens to be restricted in what they can read. Others have taught their teens and children to have the independence and autonomy in assessing this for themselves. If policies are in place in our schools that the parents who want their children to have full access have access, this avoids censorship and soft bans due to eliminating access from students whose parents want them to be more independent. Preventing access to books when parents want their kids to have access would not meet the needs of all the families. If policies provide flexibility to meet the needs of all students the way they want them to be met, then everyone feels their students are receiving a quality education. The next one you have not heard yet, because this has not been forwarded to you yet. I've been thinking, this is from a staff member, a district staff member. Many students feel comforted when they come to counselors for a need and parents feel comforted when they came to counselors for a need because we knew their children and their child has a comfort level with us before it was needed. Sudden deaths, things happen to parents, siblings, friends. They have somewhere to go, someone to go to who is a stranger, and that situation makes it even more difficult. Furthermore, this is not the model of the profession. It would be like telling science teachers that they need to not teach theory, only the lab, so there's more time for experiments without contact.
Okay, time is up, please. Next speaker.
Or telling reading teachers that they shouldn't spend time on phonics and just skip straight to sight words. There's more time to give to the kids who don't understand
Time is up,
phonics.
ma'am. Time is up. Thank you
It's
very much for
backwards.
speaking. Thank
Would
you.
the board propose to know more than science teachers or
Thank you.
reading teachers?
Thank you.
That was our last in-person. I do have one person online. That'll be it. Mr.
Okay, good.
Stovener? Our speaker will be Nyla Griffin.
The list was gone when I arrived.
Oh, okay, we'll do it after the online.
Thank you.
Hello? Ms. Griffin, you're on with the board.
Hi, my name is Nyla Griffin. I live in Richland and have 2 kids currently in the district with 1 more to go. We're heading back from the excerpt, so I apologize for not being quite as well spoken as the other speakers tonight. But I want to once again offer my support to our amazing counseling staff. Mrs. Mollisor at Richland has supported 2 of my children so far, and I genuinely don't know what we would have done without her. While my oldest at Eden Hall has had a difficult time having a consistent counselor, I'm grateful for the work the subs have done for her and all of the now 6th graders. I do fear losing good and qualified counselors because of the lack of support from this board. Social emotional learning is absolutely vital to every student, but especially neurodivergent children, and refusing to pass a comprehensive plan affects those students the greatest. Kids with ADHD, OCD, who may be autistic or have anxiety or depression greatly benefit from our counselors. I also want to add my voice to the many that have spoken already in support of not banning any of the books. Heartstopper in particular is hugely popular with my daughter and her friends in 6th grade because they can see themselves in its pages. As you just heard from the GSA members, who I am so incredibly proud of for coming to speak, these books matter. As a survivor of childhood sexual abuse, books like Push make me feel less alone as well. Books are therapeutic. Others may relate to other books, and that's the point, and to take them away is cruelty. Censorship only helps those in power exert their power and harms everyone else. Please stop embarrassing this school district with political theater to stroke your own egos and focus on things that actually need attention and take our schools into the future, not the past, like improving Angel of Greenwood. Thank you.
Thank you.
Rebecca Hoffman, is that who? I think I recognize the voice.
Hi, I'm Rebecca Hoffman. I have 5 kids in the district. I'm also reading some words that came from teachers. First, I have been a primary teacher at Pine-Richland for over 20 years, and after viewing the last board meeting, I wanted to speak out in support of our counselors. Our K-3 counselors play a vital role at PR. The students, staff, and overall school community benefit from their expertise, resources, and time in and out of the classroom. Our school counselors provide the foundation for a consistent positive school culture and climate. Each year, my students look forward to engaging lessons on kindness and resiliency that set the tone for our building. We especially love it when she comes in and models how we can fill each other's buckets with kind words and actions. Every student enjoys sharing examples of how they can fill buckets by following the Rams way. Through these fun activities, she builds trust and safety with all the students in the building. Limiting the counseling proposal does not benefit our students or school community. I'm encouraging the school board to trust and respect the expertise and professionalism of our school counselors and approve the proposed counseling plan. Second, I am very concerned that you voting for the minimum on the counseling curriculum is only the tip of the iceberg. The 6 of you that voted against the very well thought out, grounded in best practice curriculum made it apparent that you do not know what you are voting against. It seems that you are voting against it to micromanage the school counselors, ignoring their expertise, and that is infuriating. What could possibly be wrong with lessons on kindness, technology safety, emotional regulation, and a trusted adult? How does 120 minutes out of an entire school year take away from the academics that you seem to think is the only focus of a school? Yes, classroom teachers teach subject areas, but if a child doesn't know that they are cared for, they can't truly learn. Limiting the very simpler counselor lessons is a disservice to the students and staff of Pine-Richland and surely does not put kids first. It puts politics first. It feels like you are coming for the teachers next, with all the rewrites of curriculum you want. You are sucking all the joy and creativity out of teaching. Teaching isn't always from a textbook that is on a list. Sometimes something organic and wonderful takes place in the 4 walls of a classroom that no one can plan for. Sometimes someone asks a question or something happens and requires the plan to change. That is putting kids first. The students don't remember the math or science lesson we taught on any day. They remember the books we read and discussed, the events we planned, and how we made them feel as a person. By micromanaging everything, that all stops. We become afraid to do anything that isn't in the plan, so we don't. School boards have 3 essential functions: planning, setting policies, and evaluating results. None of those
15-second warning.
require a teaching certificate or actual experience as a teacher or counselor. Please trust us to do the job we are hired to do and what you do what you were volunteered and elected to do. Please stop sucking the joy out of teaching, and please stop making us all fear any decision we make.
Thank you. Thank you.
And this
Time's
one's
up.
from me. I want to thank the folks who challenged the books. You got a lot of us to read some excellent books.
And there, somebody, I have another online too, so.
Yeah, online?
Online.
Yeah. Okay, go ahead.
Mr. Stevener.
What we got?
Our next speaker is Donna Azar.
That's what I was thinking. Mhm.
Hello?
No, we were right in time.
Hello? Mrs. Azar? Hello? Okay. You're going to try again? Okay. We can have the in-person person go. I don't know who, oh, come on up, Ms. Ravati.
Yeah, yes.
Good evening. My name is Kathleen Ratti, and I'm a resident of Wexford, Pennsylvania, with one daughter in the district. First, I wanted to reiterate that thanks to the board and the administration for following the library policy, seeing it through as it is written, and I wish that more people took the time to actually read the policy, or they wouldn't be under the misconception that the board is here tonight to approve or ban or yank books out of the library. As the policy is written, that decision rests with the superintendent after recommendations received by the committee that was formed precisely for this purpose. So thank you for your attention and your time, Dr. Miller, and to the committee as well. I also want to reiterate my support for the decision on the K-12 counselor curriculum that was decided at the last board meeting. I do not support any further erosion of academic time in favor of increased counselor curriculum. And I hear a lot of great things about the counselors in this room tonight and at other meetings, which I completely believe and have encountered myself as a parent in the district. None of those things are going away. And it is a shame that those that were here at the meeting on March 16th are misconstruing to the public what actually is being decided. All of the wonderful things that have happened to date will continue to happen. School counselor roles are not being diminished. It's a decision about whether to enlarge those roles by having counselors in the classrooms teaching curriculum. And on that subject, not only do I support the board's decision as it stands, but I want to revisit the issue of Ramsway, which my daughter has learned from an early age at Pine-Richland. First two letters, R stands for respectful, A stands for accountable. I am hard-pressed to understand why the district and the administration find it so important to teach our children to be respectful when meeting after meeting, I stand in a room full of parents and community members who speak over other speakers, who snap their fingers when they hear something that they like, are disrespectful to board members, personally attack board members, and I wonder if your children were in this room, or if it were children in this room, whether the administration would say that's respectful behavior. Because at this point, I'm inclined to say my daughter is better behaved than most of the people that attend these meetings. And it needs to stop. I can hear it now, the talking in the background. It's okay to be an advocate for your position. I'm allowed to be an advocate for mine. And when I hear people say to the board, stay out of my lane as a parent, that goes for other parents when it comes to my lane with my child. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Mr. Stoner, do you want to give Mrs. Azar one more try? Hello?
Hello?
Hello, hi, Ms. Azar, you're on with the board.
Hello, how is everyone tonight? The reason I'm calling is because I want to advocate for a critical initiative that I feel like can significantly improve our students' learning experience and overall well-being. Social emotional learning. When we took it out of the curriculum last week and it didn't get passed, I felt very alarmed. Emotional regulation skills, which is something that we just received at Wexford Elementary. The kids get a sheet that's the zones of regulation. The blue zone, you're feeling sad, sick, bored, or tired. The green zone, you feel calm, focused, happy, ready to learn. The yellow zone, worried, frustrated, silly, and excited. The red zone, out of control, aggressive, angry, elevated, and overwhelmed. The reality is that these are all zones, they're all normal, but what we want to do is understand to help give kids the coping skills that help children manage and regulate their emotions. This allows them to feel empowered to focus on their schoolwork or their activities while feeling successful. Examples of coping strategies include deep breathing, taking a break, talking to a trusted adult, eating a snack, or doing a preferred activity like drawing or reading. And it stresses that there's no bad zones or feelings. Anybody can be at any zone at any time. That's just one example of the guidance counselors going into the school that I think is really effective. You know, there's so many advantages of that, and I feel that understanding our emotional regulation and giving kids skills that require self-awareness. People learn to identify their emotions, they understand their triggers, and they can predict their emotional responses. And this self-knowledge empowers them to make informed choices and take control of their emotional well-being. Such as maybe when they're teenagers, they don't get in a car with a drunk driver because they listen to themselves. They learn skills on how to regulate their emotions and maybe, you know, work on those impulsivities and things that other teenagers do. It also helps improve decision making. You know, strong emotions can cloud your judgment. Again, maybe getting in the car with a drunk driver. But emotional regulation allows individuals to approach situations with a clear head, analyze information objectively, and to make sound decisions based on logic and reason other than impulse reaction.
15-second warning.
It is essential that emotional regulation skills are taught because they're the building blocks for a healthy, successful, and fulfilling life. Thank you.
Thank you.
That's it.
All done?
Yes.
Okay.
All done.
Oh.
We are, I have like a minute left, but
I actually was signed up. I didn't realize I had to. Is that okay?
go ahead. Yeah, we'll give this one last time, yep.
Hi, thanks. My name is Julie Salvaggi. I'm on, no, I'm not. I am on Wood Hill Road in Richland. I don't often speak. I want to do 3 quick things. Number 1, my husband was actually on the book reconsideration committee. And I just want to thank everybody who served. It was a pretty significant undertaking, and it actually was really cool to go through that with him. We had some good conversation. Number 2, shout out to Principal Guerin at Hants. I got a positive principal's office referral call this week, which was really, really cool to get. And number 3, I'm going to read something on behalf of a primary building teacher. This is not me, this is her. I am urging you to reconsider the elimination of counselors pushing into our classrooms. I've been a teacher at the elementary school for 16 years and have seen the positive effects of our counselors' whole group lessons. First of all, by having these counselor visits during the first few weeks of school, the children start to become familiar with her and begin to develop a relationship. I'm going to skip through a little bit. Our counselors are the heartbeat of our school. They not only provide lessons on specific topics, but also earn the title of a trusted adult for these young learners. They are a safe space for children to talk to, especially if they don't feel comfortable talking to grown-ups at home. I have seen extremely positive effects of lunch groups and other pull-out sessions. Children are coming to school with more and more emotional and behavioral challenges, and our dedicated counselors are always there to help guide and support students as needed. Our classrooms look much different than they did 10 years ago. And more children's behavioral needs are constantly needing addressed. That's a Pittsburghese. Our counselors push in lessons help with topics that address these widespread emotions. Please consider these valuable and positive points as you vote and hopefully approve the school counselor curriculum. Our children's precious needs are dependent on it. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, all good. All right, thank you. All right, moving on to 1.03 correspondence, Mrs. Williams.
The following people emailed the board regarding the school counseling curriculum: Amy Matthew, Nyla Griffin, Amy McKay, Amy Stinelli, Ashley DeCellis, Eric Hansen, Katie Lefevre, Amy Cray, Sarah Woodward, Ann Meyers, Regina Wilson, Dawn Augustine, Christina Indick, Sherry Miller, Robin Rischel, Leanna Lehman, Amy Fleming, Allison Wright, Matthew Sundo, Sarah Irwin, Amanda Huber, Katie Postrich, Dana Rogers, Shauna Shankin, Michael Wilson, Emily Barbabaro, Art Medea, Craig Reinhardt, Kirsten and David Jones, Jessica Taylor, Amy Jenkinson, Aaron Homer, Rebecca Hoffman, Lisa Bellis, Christy Wees, Roberto and Shelley Rinaldi, Christine Brashear, Kate Griffin, James Matthew, Christy Harrer, Stacy Coons, Mike Barber, as well as Shift in Seating and in support of Angel of Greenwood, Kathleen Ratti, and the new school solicitor. The following people emailed the board: Julie Wosick regarding the book Have You Filled a Bucket Today? Maya Golden Perschbacher in support of school counselors, Jennifer Bues regarding committees versus joint governance meetings, Steve Katlinius regarding book ban proposal, Christy Hare regarding a LifeWise Academy expansion, Katie Vaught regarding challenged books, and Kirsten Jones regarding banning books.
Thank you. Item 1.04, minutes for approval.
Second.
Any discussion? All good? All in favor?
Yes.
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 All opposed? Motion passes. Okay, a strategic update, item 2.01. This is the district vision. It's the revised vision. Dr. Miller?
Sure, thank you. During the 23 through 27 strategic planning process, one of the areas that emerged was the strong support we had for our mission, focused on learning for every student every day. We also had strong support for the values of personal growth, resiliency, innovation, diverse opportunities, and engagement. One of the areas that we talked about refinement was in this vision image. And it started with the idea of capturing a word or phrase that could tell the story of what it is that we're attempting to do. And so I have put a version of this in my update for the board over the last few months to solicit feedback from individual board members, but wanted to bring it forward in a public meeting. So we're familiar with focused on learning, that has been here. The phrase about what is ultimately the purpose is to help students pursue their path. And we think this pursue your path captures this idea of their experiences at home, their experiences at school, prepare them for life after high school in all of the different decisions that they may make. And so again, one of the areas that we've learned over the years is it is far more challenging to be concise. And we think this idea of pursue your path is one that will resonate. And the idea, so if you remember the older image, we didn't have as much stuff on the right. And one of the ways that we tried to capture this, and by we, I mean all sorts of input from our town halls, from our board members, staff members, parents. Mr. Vincent Thurl, one of our art teachers at the high school, he supervised the original student who did the work on our image, and he himself put some of this in place. So the idea of pursuing the path, we see the paths obviously in a sort of area that resembles Pine-Richland. We had him select the pine tree and the Richland wheat to really capture exactly who we are as Pine-Richland. We thought that was a pretty neat way to show that. We also know we live in a broader community, and so it's a little bit tougher to see here, but we see a cityscape in the background. You see a building which might resemble PPG with the points on there. But again, the idea of having this depth of this region and be able to reflect that as we help students prepare for what's next. So this part on the right represents, again, some of the changes, but again, I would say the impetus for this was around a phrase to capture the vision. This whole idea back probably 10 years ago is around Rube Goldberg. So it looks busy, but it's one of those images that when you understand the components, everything about this sort of makes sense and it does stick in your head. So we start with our student focused on learning. The light bulb reflects that idea of the learning moment that happens for a student or an adult. We've added to that a couple other individuals. So it used to be just one person. We now have a few, obviously a teacher and a couple of students. The movement of the Rube Goldberg is to go sort of across, up like an S, across the top, and then gradually we see that again, bear with us, the paper sort of turns into now a transcript, diploma. It was an A+, if you would, before, and so we sort of switched that. This idea, as we sort of head out in pursuing your path, we talked about the idea that we want our students to be ready to make their mark on the world. So the paint can and the paint is that we want our students to be equipped to make their mark. We want them to be equipped to pursue their path. The student is represented by the paper airplane. We see the cap and gown, and then we see the light bulb. So again, we see those various paths that come out. A few other components of things, we've added some technology to the image. How we describe learning hasn't changed. Learning is different for different people, which means as the educators, we need to vary our approach in the classroom with our students. Learning happens inside and outside the classroom. We hear that. That resonates with all of our community. We hear that phrase a ton from people, whether it's through athletics or a musical or marching band. You know, the value of learning isn't just within the school day or the classroom, but in all the areas of the school district. Learning is about achievement and growth. Learning requires effort and persistence. And learning includes everyone, students, staff, parents, and community working together. So again, we have not shared this in a while with our community. The biggest change is to, find a phrase. We've talked about this publicly, but we haven't brought it back recently. And then we have a whole lot of changes on the right side of the image. So I'll open it up to the board.
Any comments from the board? Dr. Miller, I've seen it before early on when it was just one student, and there's been a good bit of change here. I like everything I see. I like to pursue your path with pointing out. You coming in on focus on learning, then pursuing your path out, and it's pretty creative with the pine and the Richland haystacks. That caught my attention, so that was very good. But I do like how you've put this together and added a teacher and more students in there, so that was good.
Yeah, I like it. I think it came out nice. I know I met I don't even know how long ago it was, and we met Dr. Meyer and I, and we talked about some of these things, so it's nice to see some of the changes that came to it, so it was well done.
Thank you to everyone that worked on it. I think it looks great. It really does capture the whole path that you go through in life, starting as a student and then pursuing your own interest outside, so. Good job to everybody. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for explaining the Richland wheat there. I wasn't sure, but that looks great. And thank you for pointing out the cityscape in the background. And I think I remember you presenting something like this several years ago when I was at Hans and you came to visit and talk to us. And I remember you brought something like this, so it's fun to see how it's evolved.
Okay, well, good. Okay, we'll move on. Thank you, Dr. Miller.
Okay, so I guess we'll bring that for action next meeting?
Yeah.
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
Yep, good, thank you.
Yeah, yep, absolutely, thank you. Okay, item 2.02, strategic plan, board goals. One of the things that we've had some communication on with the board is our school visits. I just wanted to make mention of that. I know it's not bolded here, but the plan right now for the board members is to go through Wexford Elementary on the 17th.
And the high school, yep.
Yeah, in the high school on the 17th. Dr. Miller, I'm not sure if I've told you, but I will be out of the state. I will not be able to attend that. It's unfortunate. I really was looking forward to it, but the dates just didn't match up for me.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. The other 2 points, continue representation, attendance, and engagement with internal partners, transportation, food service, et cetera, external partners, boosters, AWBCC, AIU, townships, et cetera, with updates via board agendas. So it's for board discussion. I mean, we're looking like we are getting with engagements with both internal and external. I know that we do send some township updates and letters, and we are engaged in what's going on with the board. But looking for some board feedback on this, some comments. Is this something that we're not doing enough of? Do we need more? Or, what are we doing from a board perspective? What's your knowledge on this?
Well, I think we, a lot of us comment, like for example, I'm on the Pine Parks Board. We haven't met in, we've had a couple cancellations. I literally just emailed them to make sure we're meeting this week. But a lot of us meet and just kind of bring updates up when they're with board business. I think we could do a better job with maybe even getting it on the agenda, so it's just even listed there that, like, I could email, board lead, why I'm board leadership, but, to Barb to put on the agenda saying, like, I have a statement from Pine Park, or whoever, like, maybe we do a better job, so that way it's listed in the agenda, so the public knows before that, even if it's, a couple of sentences that we're gonna, talk about whatever we have to bring to the table. We don't always have things every meeting, so.
Good, thank you. Any other comments?
When we, just a
Yeah,
question.
thank you.
When we mention boosters, does that, I know they're external partners, but we're referring to boosters within the school? Okay. Do we have someone that does that?
Not particularly. I don't really think we have anyone on the board that interacts with boosters. I guess maybe sometimes I don't know, if we've maybe had like an update from boosters.
Is that like a key communicator thing? Like, I know that you guys have key communicator meetings and a lot of boosters.
I think it's just there
attend
as an example. I mean, the idea is staying connected with all the various groups. And, early on, PTOs are extremely popular for our families. As students get older, parents tend to go into the musical or athletic or other groups that are happening within the school. So it's really, it's not the list doesn't have to be followed exactly, but I think the point of the goal is to be intentional about ways that board members are plugging into the various groups within and outside of the district.
So I guess, do we feel like we're plugged into those groups? I don't.
And what are those groups?
I think some more than others were kind of more involved in kind of a thing.
But do we want like a more formal, like how you're on Pine Township, and then I do the advisory for the wellness and the.
I mean, I don't know. That's something to consider. Like if we had, that's a whole different thing. Like want a representative to be on Prubo or something.
Do you think it'd be as simple as just someone attending those key communicators? Like, because is that a good?
There's a unified booster organization that
Okay.
reflects, so it may be something just of touching base and seeing how things are going in a more informal way, and then reflecting that back to the full board.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think where you start from is what are the internal partners? What are all the external partners? Then we can make a decision based on that. So we got the Pine Park, okay, we got it checked off. Actually, you said something about you were a member of the wellness.
In food services.
In food service, yeah, so that's good, check there. And if there's other ones we're missing, then we can make a decision. Do we or do we not? Because the next item on this agenda, which was refined and implement a systematic communication plan, is that sufficient to get to the boosters and others and let them know that there's on how we would operate that? That might be a way to solve that. But I think we don't go there until we understand what are all the areas we would like to touch, and should we touch or not touch.
Well, there is a practical limitation. I know we all make a lot of money to do this.
Yes.
But we need to be realistic about.
Absolutely.
So my curiosity goes to on the next to last bullet. So are we adding value to these groups? I'd like to know. I'd like to hear from them. The ones we are currently engaged with, are we adding value? Because if we're not, then we either need to or we need to stop. Because there's no reason just to have another thing to do. So I think an inventory of who we are engaged with, both internal and external, would be healthy. I think asking them, are we adding value, would be healthy. And depending on their answer, we adapt.
Yeah.
I like it.
Yeah, and I think like I mentioned, I guess that kind of goes with the second one here, that if we have a report, Pine Park, we always meet like right after our board meeting, so by the time the next meeting rolls around, sometimes I've forgotten, but trying to make a point to just, bring my message or put it on the agenda, so it is, we're letting the community know, like we will have an update, even if it's, not a whole lot to report, but it's there. And I know previously, the president has sent an email out to the community. I don't know what the timeline, if that was quarterly, maybe, Brian, or like a.
Not quarterly. I would say a few times a year, always one on the budget.
Okay.
So typically, that's around the May, June timeframe.
Mhm.
There has, after a school visit, there's often been a message created based on the school visit. So
Mhm.
whatever it is that the board experiences, capturing that in some way and then sending that out. Those are two areas, but again, the whole,
But have we been consistent, though? I don't know
consistent
that-
with 2 a year, yes.
Because I remember.
Beyond that, no.
Yeah, yeah. So I think, again.
That's why it's on our strategic plan.
Well, and under the topic of excellence, is that really excellent? If we can't do it consistently, then it's not.
Yeah.
So before we commit, I know Peter, I remember Peter doing some emails. I don't remember Greg doing it. But, so we either need to, if we're going to do something, then we need to have a way to do it consistently. And that there are challenges to doing it consistently. Because it doesn't come from Dr. Miller, it comes from us.
Yeah, really from us, board leadership. And, we have the school visit, you won't be there. I don't know if I'm going to be able to be there, but, perhaps somebody from the board, the people that do attend can put together an email and just kind of give a little summary of what went on our day and send that in an email, and then we'll have the one for the budget. And, I think it could be a goal that we try to send an email. I don't know if we'll be consistent, but at least, a little more regular at it as a goal.
It's almost like, to do it right, we need someone to own the communications committee. I mean, if something has an owner, it gets done. Without an owner, it doesn't.
Yeah.
It's a cloud. It's just an idea that
Yeah, we don't
floats
have-
up and
yeah.
the cloud floats away.
It's a noble objective that never gets done.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Well, let me ask the rest of the board members, should we have, someone responsible for kind of focusing on communication and kind of driving a type of communication? Doesn't have to be every meeting, we can, if you're responsible, we can figure out what's the appropriate time to do something like that. So we have 2 examples. Do we need more? Basically communicating out some board business, focus, role, strategic action, so forth, that the board is taking on.
So you're thinking like 4 times a year, 5 times a year, or something like that, just an email going out? I mean, I don't know if we would need to, we certainly don't need to report back after every meeting, but.
No.
And do you mean an agenda item or just?
An email, I think, to the
just
community.
Just internal among the board is what.
Could it, no, yeah, but I think it goes out to the community, just
Goes
like,
out.
like the Friday Flash, but it's
Yeah.
from the school board.
Could it be a link in the Friday Flash?
Well, I think we're touching on, any solution in this
Mr.
area, I would favor collaborating with the administration. Like, Ms. Hassinger should be part of this, Dr. Miller should be part of this. Like, I've never liked, even though the board is separate, I've never liked doing our thing versus something together with the district. So I think there could be something that comes from the board president on behalf of the board, but it should be definitely done in collaboration with, and what message should that be? It should be a message that is unique from the board, and I think if there's a system that we continue, because again, there's remnants of it in place, but if we're going to resuscitate that, then let's just commit to collaborating with them, a frequency, a topic. Let's start small rather than have a grandiose plan. Let's start small, incremental baby steps, do those consistently, then we can always expand.
Like perhaps after the school visit on the 17th, that might be a good place to start. That's a,
It'll show
Share
our
some-
appreciation for what we saw, what we learned, stuff like that would be a nice touch. But I think the system needs to be done with the school.
Yeah, absolutely.
If I may, a thought here is another place, if you do the budget, another consideration might be at an end of the school year. Congratulations to the graduating seniors. It doesn't have to be long, just a,
Right.
quick best wishes on, and kids moving up and things like that. So just something to think about.
So I think that's a good idea we add to the list. So there's three items, we can do. And if we have a fourth, if we decide at a certain time, there might be a subject or something that comes up, we say, you know what, this would be good if we had some kind of communication we can tie off. We don't know what it is right now, but we may determine what that is as we go through this journey.
So then next is, okay, so let's say that, for sake of continuing this a little step further, so let's say those are our topics. I think 3 is good.
Right.
So then we need someone to generate the content. Who is that?
We look for volunteers, don't we? Usually look for volunteers. Who wants to generate some content?
Well, this is the hardest thing about this, right?
Right.
Because it has to represent the collective voice.
Right.
And we need to do it in collaboration with the school.
I
So-
would be willing to write
yeah.
something up after the visit on the 17th, and I'll work with
Ms. Hassinger. I'm
And
sorry,
then you
so
would
know.
share with the board,
Yeah.
and they give their inputs, and.
I'll
right?
take that one.
Right.
For now, until it, and
Well,
see how it
that's
goes.
one. Let's run with that. And so so I'll just say, as far as I'm concerned, I'm comfortable with you collaborating with her. Is this appropriate? If this is not appropriate, let us know. And then once you have something for us to review, like the pre-final, then I just need to see that.
Sure.
Works.
And then where would we set it? Where would we attach it to the flash or?
I think it should be
email address.
it should be a standalone, yeah, it should be a standalone email coming from the board, standalone, not part of
Okay.
something else, because Lord knows there's enough stuff to read already in all those flashes, so. It'll get buried in the other stuff if we don't send it standalone, so.
Yeah.
I think it should be standalone.
That's something that I could send from the board, but I can handle
Yeah. Yeah.
building it and sending
Good.
it out to our email list.
Okay.
Well, that's at least a model for
I'll set the
making it
model.
work. So let's test it out.
Yep, I think that's good.
You good with that?
Dennis says.
Second.
Good? No? Yes. Ashley, you good? Okay.
Okay.
Okay,
No comment? Okay.
Mhm.
Okay.
all right. Moving on to action items for me. Now, so this afternoon, looking at all these action items, I went and read Robert's rules. What's Robert's rules of?
Parliamentary procedure.
Parliamentary procedure, thank you. This is a big, that was tough there. And so I looked up, I said, does a chairperson have the authority to move a motion? Yes, I do. I have the authority. Don't forget the chair, and I read it, don't forget the chairperson is a member of the assembly and has a right to make a motion, second a motion, debate a motion, and vote on a motion. However, ideally, the chairperson is an impartial figure. So while they can do those things, they shouldn't. So therefore, what I'd like to do here is I want to follow parliamentary procedure for the action items. Now, I'm going to state what the item is, and I'm going to ask if anyone wants to make a motion, and of course, you go through a second, and we'll go through our proper process. But these are all listed under my name. Since I am the chairperson on this, I would prefer that the board makes the motion because I want to stay as an impartial figure on this. Make sense? Okay.
No.
No, yeah. What is
I'm
the motion?
I'm confused.
No.
What's the
No,
motion? Are
here-
you?
Let me give you an example. So I would start on 3.01. I would say that there is an item to approve, the PREA, PRESPA personnel and athletic, non-athletic supplements. Does anyone want to make a motion? So
Okay.
the board makes the motion, then we get a second, and we carry on with that process.
Okay.
Because it keeps me away from an impartial, because if I'm the one making the motion, that just shows that I'm in support and so forth. Not that I won't be, I mean, I get to vote on it.
Okay.
Does that help you?
That's helpful.
I mean, it is helpful. I
think.
just, I feel like this is, just taking up time. I think if you make a motion of something, I don't necessarily think that you have to be that, there's something on here you wanted to vote against.
If I could just jump in, I think with Robert's Rules of Order, and I feel like you're probably more of an expert, when you make a motion, the first motion, it shows support. So, conceivably, some of us, for example, under academic achievement, there could be something under my area where there is a motion written out for me that I may not necessarily support or plan to vote for. So I don't feel that I should be making the motion, in which case we should be saying, here's an item, blah, 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 and then asking for motions from the board. Someone makes a motion, someone seconds it. I feel like the second is less important for support and more for debate, but the first motion shows support.
Okay. What are your thoughts on this, Mr. Hoffman?
The rules of procedure are designed to provide some order to the board's meeting. But they shouldn't be restrictive in the sense that, ultimately, you need to go about your business. So, either the way Mr. Morissette suggested proceeding, that's perfectly fine. That's what Robert's Rules suggests. In terms of, the idea of making a motion indicates support, it doesn't prevent you from voting no on that same motion.
Right.
So,
Well, why would one make a motion if they didn't support it?
I understand your point. I'm just saying, Either way is acceptable. However
Okay.
the board wants to proceed, again, the rules are there to help facilitate your business, not prevent it.
Okay.
I think this might cause more confusion than.
Yeah, I would prefer to keep
Yeah,
it
I would
streamlined
prefer
because
that
we have a
too.
big agenda and it's already 8:30. So, I mean,
Yeah.
that's just the way I feel about
I think
it.
with the understanding that you're
Yeah.
not like, that you can have your own debate and decision.
In Robert's Rules of Order, that's a way to also, if no one motions, that means there isn't support. So just mandating that we make the motion moves it forward. So it's a way for us to say, we support this item and we want to discuss it and we want to have a vote on it. If no one motions, then that's an indication that there isn't support for this from the board. I mean, that's one way to kill something, to use, a really negative context. But when you have two motions from the floor, there's conceivably some support, at least support to debate it.
Well, I guess I'm not a fan of surprise. Like, this is a surprise. Like, this, we didn't talk about making a change here. I'd rather, like, we could talk about it, and, like, doing it at a later date. It's just a minor tweak, and it's not saying that the way we've been doing it for a while is incorrect, but it's just like a surprise. Like, we didn't see that, like, I didn't see this coming. And it
Well,
just
no,
feels-
because it was just this afternoon that I looked at it, and I did bring it up on our leadership meeting. I said, why are all of these underneath my name? And that's what prompted me to start thinking about, and I didn't go to Robert's Rules until this afternoon to look at this, and then I conferred with Matt just when he came in, and he said, sure, you can do it that way. So, for the sake of, I think we should discuss this, and I think we should discuss where these things fall in the future as well. Let's move on, and I will state the motion, I will look for a second, and then we will discuss. Just
Okay.
for the sake of, argument, we'll pull back
Okay.
this, okay?
Okay.
But at least we had an opportunity to talk about it.
That's fine.
Okay. All right, so 3.01, PREA, we have a motion to approve the PREA, PRESA, personnel athletic, non-athletic supplements as attached. Do I have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion on this? All in favor?
Yes.
Yes.
Motion approved. AIU Notice of Adoption, Use of Funds, 2024. Motion to approve the AIU policies, procedures, and use of funds for 2024, 2025 as attached.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion? All in favor?
Yes.
All opposed? Motion passes. 3.03. Motion to authorize the solicitor to initiate real estate assessment appeals for all newly constructed properties within the township of Pine and Richland Township transferred in 2023, where the taxes generated on the difference between the selling price and the assessed value would exceed $1,000.
Second.
Motion's made and seconded. Any discussion on this? All in favor?
Yes.
Yes.
All opposed? Motion passes. High school stadium scoreboard. Motions to approve the purchase of a 10-millimeter digital video board from Watchfire to be installed by Stricter Signs at Pine-Richland Stadium for a total of $587,004 as attached.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion?
Yeah, I have a question.
Yeah, go ahead.
Did anyone else have?
No, go ahead
I'll
first.
do after you.
Okay, so, Mr. Zimmerman, and I'm going from memory here. I think I remember at the last meeting, you saying there was some information that you didn't have in yet. You wanted to give it more time to get that information in. And then we would learn what that is. And what I thought that meant is that we would have an informational item when that time came at the next meeting, not a motion to approve it. So that's the first question. And then the second question is that this is a scoreboard currently budgeted in next school year's budget. So the cost of this scoreboard is not in the current year budget, and it's in the next year's budget, which hasn't been approved. So if we were to approve this tonight, we're going to make this purchase now? That would be the second question, because it seems to be out of whack with our budgetary process?
All right, so with the first question was the process that we talked about on March the 11th. During that meeting, we discussed providing some board updates through the normal Friday Dr. Miller update to the board. And part of that was to let you know how we were making out with our vendors and how their pricing was formalizing and that we'd be ready for tonight's meeting. So I think that...
Okay, then I'm sorry, then I must have misunderstood that, that's all.
Okay. With that, you know, we had on the 11th of March, at that time, we had one vendor that had some pretty decent pricing, one that was kind of still far out. Since that time, both vendors saw that information that was shared on the 11th. It brought one vendor way down, so we had really good competing vendors for this quote. As you can see, the numbers came in within $3,300 of each other on a $580,000 project. That's like 0.6%, so very close, pretty much a flat process. We feel that each vendor reduced their number coming right into that last date when we received those quotes coming in on that Thursday. Both vendors came down, so we believe this is probably the best price that we're ever going to get for the scoreboard. I know that it's an expensive scoreboard. We also put in, there's about $45,000 worth of soft costs. We didn't want to give anyone any surprises going into this project. So originally we thought the scoreboard itself would be in the $525 to $550 range. It really is. And then when you add in those soft costs, like 5% contingency, like if we have any change orders, that's going to be in that soft cost. The permits for Pine Township are included in that. The bonding, since we did a CoStars project and we avoided doing the bid project so that we could have these two vendors that are highly qualified and they're the industry experts go ahead and compete on it. We didn't do a bid, but we still are required to have bonding in there, and bonding's expensive. It protects the district. So we really feel that even though this is an expensive project, this is probably the lowest price that we're going to get for these scoreboards with the quality that we specified. Two great companies. We made our recommendation on which one we chose in there. We think that the Watchfire product has better software that the kids will be using, the staff will be using to program the board. They also have a program where the kids can actually get certified in scoreboard, the management of it and setting up all the graphics so they can actually get a certification while they're in school. And we thought that was what pushed Watchfire kind of over the top on that. As we noted in the document that we sent out for this meeting, we really don't have any signed commitments from vendors right now for sponsorships. We know that there's going to be sponsorships above and beyond what we could possibly get from the current scoreboard situation out there where it's just hard signs. So we know that there's a pool of potential out there that we could go after. We've had some vendors that have expressed a lot of interest in it. We also had some vendors that were on spring break the same time we were on spring break, and so their decision makers weren't able to give us that decision. But we do feel that there's a lot of potential with the scoreboard. It's a long life asset. We're thinking at least 10 to 15 years for the scoreboard. We'll be able to work out. I know that it doesn't give you a lot of confidence not having something written down right now, like we don't have a number for you. But that number has a way bigger potential than what we have right now for our the old scoreboards, poster boards that we have up there on the sides.
So then what about the second question about the timing?
So for the timing, I know that there will be some, like the permitting will cost us up front. We will have to put down some deposits, but a lot of times with a construction project, we get progress payments throughout. So I know that the fiscal year turns over on July the 1st. We really won't have a lot of construction even started on July the 1st. It'll be after. So I feel confident that We'll probably have to pay some up front for this to get started, for a deposit, to get the scoreboard start through manufacturing. But like you said, most of it will be into the next school budget.
And with our capital projects funds, as you know, some of those projects carry over into years, and then you have to do some of the bidding, the RFP. Those processes prior to when the project's being completed, as I'm sure, pushing the timeline with Mr. Zimmerman, even getting into the middle school HVAC project. Forward thinking, you have to get all this documentation and advertisements out for these scenarios prior to that year's budget, and this is built within the capital projects funding plan going forward. So asking for approval on the process prior to that budget being approved, but I would look at it as similar to any other construction project or facilities upgrade, such as an HVAC or roofing with the timelines.
Okay, thanks.
Okay. Yeah, thank you for all the information. I know you guys put a ton of time into this, and, it seems like we're getting a good, I'm very much in support of getting this new school board. I feel like if we wait on it, it's going to end up costing us more money down the road. It's a great experience, especially this new school board. We can use it for graduation, use it for all different things. I think it's something our community and our kids, I don't want to say deserve, but, it's kind of, it is a want. It's more of a want than a need, but I still think it's something that we need for our district. So I am in support of it, and any revenue we can generate from sponsorship would be fantastic to help offset that.
Other questions?
Would it be unreasonable to set a goal for the ad revenue? I would feel a lot better approving this if we could target a goal. That way we know our net cost for this. It's one of the hardest parts of this for me, because this with the planetarium, I mean, we're talking way over $1 million at a time when our property value is not growing, capital projects that are definite needs, not wants, that should take priority over this. I'm just worried about that. I don't want to be in a position to have to say we have to increase millage just to pay for a scoreboard. So I'm just saying, is that unreasonable? If it is, then just say so.
I guess we're challenged there. We did reach out to some school districts that currently have a similar structure board and what revenue they're able to generate. So they've given us some ideas on numbers that they've been able to bring in. We were hesitant to say that's going to be our number because it's an unknown.
Right, but you can make a plan. You can build a plan that says, based upon other school districts, what they've done, based upon our conversations with vendors, they haven't committed, but there's interest, right? So here's all the ones that have interest, they haven't committed yet. Here's what other school districts have done. Here's the school districts that were on spring break that now are available, we can talk to. Because this is the one item, that sponsorship thing would help push me over the edge to have this big expenditure to say, well, that offsets a hell of a lot of that cost. And it would be good to come in with a plan, and I understand it's like Mark says, a goal. It's a goal, it's a plan, but here's how we would go about doing it. Here's the people we would talk to without any commitments yet, but we think we can generate this type of revenue, and we would go for it. And say, that would help us make that decision then, to say, well, that offsets a heck of that cost, and we can make that work for us.
So they have done that. So in terms of creating a plan and approach, beginning to contact and reach out, all of those things are happening. I think the hesitancy is to give a number they can't guarantee. So we have an idea of what those numbers will be, but we don't want it, I think.
So let me be clear. I'm not asking for a guarantee. I'm not asking to carve it in stone. I'm not going to say, Mike, yes. I'm asking for it's literally a goal. We may not hit the goal. So like ballpark, what did you learn from these other districts, Mike? Like
64.5.
64.5.
Yep.
Okay.
Annually?
Annually.
Annually.
Yep.
Yeah, annual. Okay. Well, that's helpful. So I don't even need the number tonight, but I know that we can't just wish for ad revenue. Like, I'm in sales. If I let a salesperson just tell me they're going to sell whatever they sell, and whatever it is, it is. No, that isn't how we do things. We can't budget that way, right? So I'm asking to stretch your comfort zone a little bit. I think setting a goal would be a good thing for us to do, and I'm sure we'll hit it. You know, so let's think about that. I don't even need the number, but I would at least a commitment to set a goal, right? And maybe stretch that 64.5 a little bit because we're PR, you know?
Again, I mean, the plan and how to generate that particular number is in place. That was, again, our hesitancy to say, we're going to bring in 64.5 every year, in not knowing for sure that that's going to happen. Same thing with, you know, we've talked to other companies that we heard wanted to sponsor for a more significant amount of money. We don't have any commitments to that, so we don't want to bring that forward to say we've got it when we don't.
I know.
That's where we are right now.
And it's uneasy to do that.
Yeah, and some are saying, you know, you don't have a commitment to the board, it's the scoreboard yet. So when you have the scoreboard, then we'll talk about providing some revenue for you. So it's a little bit of the back and forth that we're stuck in right now.
So even if it's 50,000, say, it's over 15 years, you're still covering the cost of the scoreboard. So even if they don't meet the goal of 65,000, if it's only 50,000, you're covering the cost of the scoreboard. And again, like anything, when it comes to these things, these advertisers want to know how many eyes are going to be on it at any certain time, and that's how much they're willing to pay.
And
If you, yeah, sorry. And it comes down to, if you build it, they will come. It's not the, you know, we'll give you the money first. It's, if you build it, they will come.
Mark.
No, let Ashley.
No, Ashley.
I was just going to say, to kind of go with what Mr. Cassidy's saying, is this, it's from what I've reviewed on all of the updates and the things that you present at the meetings, it seems like the eyes on it are going to be more. You know, we have graduation, we have prom, we have homecoming, we have all these opportunities that the kids use these spaces, and parents go, not just sports, right? It can be, you know, carried over to so many more things. Award ceremonies. So for me, I support this proposal, I support this action of approving, because I do think, like Mr. Cassidy said, if you build it, they will come. You know, it's really hard to make these predictions, but I do think with this newer technology, the nicer scoreboard, that a lot of these companies will want to see their names up there, and they'll have pride like we do in our school. So, yeah.
Mark, I see that we have a finance meeting on May 6th, less than a month away, to discuss the budget. This is a rather large purchase, and I think it would be responsible of us to see how this purchase fits into everything else that we need to do next year. What would be the harm in waiting until we have the opportunity to talk about the budget?
It wouldn't be built in time for the next year.
Yes, correct.
Mr. Zimmer, yeah, won't be ready.
Yeah, we've got the lead time. We were able to push it out to this meeting. We've been talking to the vendors. They were able to extend their schedule and make sure that they're on for production to get done. But I don't think that if we moved into May that we would be able to make construction deadlines to get the board built.
Boy, I have a hard time making a $500,000 purchase just because I'm under someone else's deadline.
Absolutely.
Well, don't we have it in the capital improvement or the facility improvements? We've like earmarked that money, correct? Yeah, so it's not, we're just pulling it out of nowhere. We've earmarked it, correct?
Yes,
It's
but
earmarked
at the
in the-
same
I'm asking Mr.
time,
Jeswick. Go ahead, Mr. Jeswick.
I was just going to
Go
say,
ahead.
it is earmarked in the 24-25 capital
Okay.
project
But we haven't
plan.
approved that yet.
Right.
Okay.
Which is
and
a
you have a lot
transfer
of
from
other
that.
things that are must-dos that are costing much more, correct?
Again.
In that
And if we wait on this,
If-
this is going
yeah,
to
it's
cost a
gonna
lot
cost
more.
more.
Yeah.
So we have a big capital funding plan for next
Yes.
year. We've known that for 5 years, so that's not
Yeah.
news. Again, these are not easy decisions, understood, but in terms of planning ahead, we've known what expenditures are coming. We prepare for those. We're disciplined in the work that we do, and it's a matter of supporting or not supporting. And if it's not supported, it's not supported. We have to move forward. If it is supported, then we do a whole lot of projects and a whole lot of work in the district, so.
So in the plan that we've thought about to sell advertising, are we as far along to say something like, to become the, platinum sponsor, we're looking for 25 grand, right? I mean, have we gone that
Yes.
far yet?
Yes.
Okay.
Mhm.
Okay.
When can you share that plan with us?
we've developed it. Again, we were hesitant to share it with you with numbers, so
I heard
we
you.
have the plan.
Okay, so my question is, when can you share that plan with us? I mean,
Tomorrow?
Good.
But we're not getting commitments from advertisers until we have a scoreboard, am I correct?
Yeah,
I
the
mean,
plan is just a breakdown of different groups to commit certain amount of monies for certain advertising they would get through the board, with it still trying to keep the focus on the students and the student athletes. But we have that developed.
Okay.
It's ready for you to take a look at. Again, it was just not brought forward for the fourth time because of the number
So this
associated
is
with it.
like, I can't remember unless someone else can. I mean, this is probably our most significant attempt to generate revenue selling advertising. This is going to be our
So we have brought in between $16,000 and $20,000 a year in scoreboard advertising for all of our old static boards for the last 11 years that I've been here.
Yeah.
So we brought in a couple $100,000 with what was described earlier. So we know with a degree of confidence, we're going to be, again, 25 to 75,000 a year in scoreboard advertising. Feel very good about saying that. Will it be 75? I don't know, or 25, but bottom line is, again, over the life of use, we do see it paying for itself. It's just a matter of moving the project forward at some point. It is not going to get cheaper than this unless we change what it is that we're looking for. Again, the advantage of this, that the stadium as an example, and again, I sometimes, we've spent a lot of time on this. It is important. We have a lot of important things, and I don't want to cut the conversation short. I'm not trying to do that at all. We are very careful and cautious about things we put in our capital funding plan. We do not make decisions for tomorrow, today. We make decisions. When we did our athletic study, we did that in 2016, and we are still working the plan from 2016 that was done systematically. This kind of replacement needs to happen. We have people in that stadium every day. We could advertise for custodians and paraeducators, which we talked about at our 6 o'clock meeting, as a running video screen on every time we have that thing being used. That's not for ad revenue. That's to bring workforce into our organization so we can deliver our services. So I think having the tool, we will find ways to use it. I feel confident we're going to be able to bring in, again, 25 to 75,000 a year. I base that on the fact that we've been able to bring 20,000 a year, or 16 to 20, with static signs that are put out there. So it's a tough choice, I get that. But again, we are as disciplined fiscally as any school district that anybody can find. And we invest in all areas of importance to the district. We talked about 67% of our investment in salaries, benefits for our workforce, everything from transportation to every other contract we do. So I understand the weight of the decision. They have done as much work as I think they can do. The plan is ready. They're just ethically directed enough to not want to promise something they can't be 100% certain they're going to deliver. So that's sort of the ethics of this group, to not overpromise something.
Well, and we're called to be stewards.
Understood.
Right? And this is absence of ad revenue. I will not vote for this. And now 50,000 is a big enough number to make me support it, because you can rationalize that it will pay for itself. 25 would be very disappointing if that's all if we get the same amount of ad revenue from the new board that we had from the old board. So with that, we can proceed knowing that we're going to try, but trying, it just isn't the world I come from. And if you're asking for approval for $500,000, over $500,000, for something that is truly a want, not a need, I'm sorry, it's not a need. We have a device that will keep score and keep time. So, but I'm willing to grant the want, but I have to be a good steward for the district too, of our finances. And right now, every penny counts. Even though $100 million budget, every penny counts. So that's all, I said my piece. I'll support it, but if we don't get 50,000 at least, I'm going to be very disappointed. It's going to have to come from somewhere else.
I think part of being a good steward in this conversation, which has been brought up multiple times, is that if we will eventually need a new scoreboard. I mean, I think it's 23 years old. I could be misquoting the age. So I know it's appears to be a want, but eventually it's going to turn into a need that could potentially cost us twice, 3 times as much. So being a good steward in this moment seems like, yeah, we're being good stewards. But then if we are faced with this a year from now, we're going to look like poor stewards. And that's going to reflect on us.
I don't think anyone's asking for a year from now, but I'd like to make a motion to postpone this until May 6th so that we have an opportunity to review the budget and maybe a plan.
But you're putting off the purchase because they can't then do the work. So now you're.
But we're not
no,
starting
hold
until,
on.
but I
you
made a
won't-
motion.
But you won't be able to do it.
Point of
You
order.
made a motion, so someone has to make a second.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion, we have a second. The motion is to postpone this decision to May 2nd, or May 6th, because that's the opportunity for us to approve the budget or to be able to
Well,
understand
there's
the
a problem with that date.
Yeah.
Because that's a committee meeting, not a, so it's not a meeting where we would actually have a vote.
But I would argue that we would have had time to at least review the draft. We'd have time to review the supplemental materials around fundraising and at least be able to make a good decision.
Well, what about the 22nd?
April
April?
22nd?
April, yeah.
It's our next meeting.
Yeah. 2 weeks. Is
Would
that
would
going
we-
to?
Could we so hit the timeline, Jeff?
Be honest, if we can't get the timeline, let us know.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I think we stretched them out as far as we could go for this April 8th, but I can reach back out to them. I think Watchfire has a little bit more flexibility. I don't think Daktronics had that, but I can reach back out to them.
I'm just not clear on what we're going to know on April 22nd.
Thank you.
We don't know now. So again, I feel confident saying we're going to be able to generate revenue. With the interest we have in athletics and other activities within our school district, if we did an e-blast out calling all supporters to be able to do that and work with your companies and see if they'll do something, I feel confident that we would be able to generate revenue rather quickly. We just have not done that. We've been reaching out to a handful of specific companies.
I think it's foolish to push, I mean, I'm sorry, we have to vote, because I just think it's foolish to push this off 2 more weeks. I don't really think that, I mean,
And the one thing to remember with the current capital funding plan going into 24-25, that is a little bit higher when we did the preliminary budget back at the February board meeting with our projections. It's an 11 million, but we bumped the HVAC projects up. We did move some things around because of our financial position. So that is one reason this capital funding plan for 24-25 is around that $11 million range.
So Chris, how much do we have for the scoreboard in right now in that 11? Do you know? Is it more than what we actually got the actual quotes for?
Let me pull that real quick.
While you're doing
just to get
that, so the only issue, we can't vote on this on the 6th. It's not a day we can do that. So it's either, so the motion to delay this it's not plausible. So.
Well, yeah, the motion should be, we should table this until a later date where we can get some more information. That's what the motion should be, as opposed to
but
picking
that's
a
not what the
specific-
motion was.
I understand, but I think it needs to be corrected according to council that says this is a motion to table, and then we pick up the proper date that we would then bring it off the table.
Could we get this answer? Because I think this
Yes.
answer is an important piece of data. Because I don't want to delay this if we can all get comfortable doing it tonight.
So do I need to withdraw my motion to continue down this road here? with
Probably,
this
because
conversation?
it had
Okay.
it was not a date we could use.
Okay, I will withdraw my motion.
Okay.
So-
Thank you
wait
for
the
withdrawing.
answer.
Okay, motion is withdrawn. Carry on.
And Mark, can
Yeah.
you remind for all of us what question you're asking?
Yeah, so what I'm asking is, so we have a number for the scoreboard in the budget that we're going to be asked to approve for next year. That number is more than what the actual cost is. So meaning, we're going to benefit from the fact that the quotes came in much better than what we budgeted. So it's almost like we're saving money against the budget in the number we currently have.
We have $500,000 budget.
So
for
it's
right now.
more than that, okay.
What's the planetarium?
The planetarium's coming under.
Planetarium's coming under because we did.
What's the planetarium in the budget?
650.
And what do we anticipate the planetarium come in? But we don't like to say these numbers out loud because we're not fully there, but what do we think it's going to be?
Right around 400,000.
So
with the
we think
quote.
the planetarium will be 250 less than, we see the scoreboard as being 75 more than, or whatever. I mean, this is a part of the process, so, thank you.
Yeah, thank you, that's helpful. So I think we should vote on this tonight. I'm comfortable voting on this tonight. Let's pull the trigger, and let's just do our best to get the ad revenue where it needs to be.
Phil, can we do a roll call and vote?
Yeah, we'll do a roll call on the voting. I just have a comment. I mean, we have to have the revenue plan, and we have to see the plan. Absolutely. We have to have a commitment, because if we decide it's hard to get revenue, and we're not going to really pull it, we can't get, that's going to be a tough one, right? So
Yeah.
But we have the money
You'll
for
have
this.
the plan
We have the money
tomorrow,
for this.
and our commitment is to do everything we can to maximize the amount of revenue we can get out of that board.
Okay, thank you.
Okay,
We ready?
I think
Is
so.
that good?
Yes, we ready? All discussions? Okay.
Mrs. Miller?
Yes.
Sorry, hold on.
Motion was to approve.
Mr. Weethorn?
Yes.
Mr. Morset?
Yes.
Mrs. Turchick?
Yes.
Mrs. Brusalis?
Yes.
Mr. Cassidy?
Yes.
Mr. Kashani?
Yes, with the. with
Mrs.
the-
Hillman? Mrs. Fortier?
Yes.
Unanimous, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Send the plan, Mike.
Thank you, guys.
Send
And
it.
I will send the plan tomorrow.
Thank you.
And I know it's been said, but I want to say, good work on this. I know this was not easy and grueling, Mr. Zimmerman. Thank you.
Okay, next hot one, 3.05, fencing for high school stadium. Motion to approve the replacement of fencing at the high school stadium by R&S Fence and Railing Supply in the amount of $68,000, $325, with performance and payment bonds of $70,000.
Second.
A motion has been made and has been seconded. Any discussion?
So I'd like to say something real quick about the
Yeah, yeah.
project. It's written in here, but I just want to make sure everyone's clear. This is like 1/3 of the total project. So this is the interior fence that goes around the track that's in really bad disrepair. It's all bowed out. It's to do that. That's the biggest part of the project. We still have some fence repair around the perimeter fence around the exterior of the stadium. That's just going to be a repair project, not a full replacement. And then we have the baseball backstop, which is going to resemble what we have at the Ram Cage with the tall columns with the net that goes up. We think that'll be the best alternative. So just to let you know, there's 2 more pieces coming. The total budget that we had was $150,000, so this is $70,000 of it. Just wanted to make that clear.
Thank you.
Okay, so thank you for the comments. So we do have any other discussions? We have a motion's been seconded. All right, all in favor?
Yes.
Yes.
All opposed? Motion passes. 3.06, motion to approve and repair 3 structural columns located in the high school natatorium by Jeffrey Edward Measle, architect, in an amount not to exceed $12,600.
Second.
Motion's made and seconded. Any discussion? All in favor?
Yes.
Yes.
All opposed? Motion passes. Natatorium double door replacement. Motion to approve the replacement of the storage room double doors on the pool deck by A.G. Morrow in the amount of $10,820.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion on this item? Okay. All in favor?
Yes.
Yes.
All opposed? Motion passes. Curriculum plan. Motion to approve the curriculum plan, Policy 105, revised level of curriculum for board adoption, Policy 106, and district-level resource definition for listing with revised level of curriculum for board adoption, Policy 109.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Discussion?
Discussion?
Yes, discussion. Everybody has had a chance to review the prototypes?
Yeah, I really like the prototypes. I felt like it looked very concise. It was easy to follow. I think
Yep.
it'd be easy for parents.
Yes, thank you for putting that all together. I think it really is going to be a good resource for parents and families on our website.
Anything in there that, everything that needs to be adjusted or changed, we're all okay with that? We got a couple good comments here. Any other comments about this?
Yes, I continue to have a concern that it's representative learning goals and not all of the learning goals, which means that we aren't being presented with every topic that's being taught in the unit. And I think as a board, we should understand what the curriculum is before it's being taught. I don't feel like this moves us forward into not having those surprises that we had prior to this with the discussion around English 9, which prompted all of this. I would like to see a full listing of the content for each unit, because I think that's helpful. Then there are no surprises. Then we understand how resources fit in. I think teachers then have confidence in the resources that they are using. And I know that some of you may think that that is in the weeds. I don't think it is, because if we go back to policy 105, it says learning goals, not representative learning goals. And I'd say 85 to 90% of schools in the district have a similar policy that lists the similar things. So we're not asking for more than anyone else's. That's my concern, is that we're not really understanding. And so how can we avoid what happened with English 9 if we aren't having a full representation of the topics, at least? You know, bullets, I don't care how it's in there, but an understanding of what each unit is going to entail content-wise.
So, I mean, we tried to address, we had the February 27th conversation to try to get to an understanding of where the board wanted to be in terms of depth of curriculum. And from that, we built the prototype that we brought forward on March 11th. Was what we heard from the board was between the detailed unit-based curriculum, which is everything, and what we currently have online for our parents now. So where we landed with the prototype is between the two. The details that are in now, that English example, provide for the details of the things of the problem that we had with some of those texts that we talked about.
So
those are integrated into that unit plan, so parents can see that, the books that would be supporting that particular unit. And then it is
So if a change is made at the department level to the curriculum, and it's not one of the representative learning goals that's being addressed, is that something that you think needs to come to the board?
Yeah, so I'll just jump in.
So I guess this is where I feel like we're missing each other, at least from my point of view. I don't know how the other board members feel.
I thought all as a board last time we were happy with this kind of level, like kind of a pare down for our website. That's what I thought, we landed on at that meeting.
I didn't land there.
Okay, but I
so
thought
don't
as
know
a
if all of
overall,
us
we
did.
didn't vote, but I felt like show of hands, that's where we all kind of landed.
Maybe, but I
Yes.
feel like there are questions that come up with the curriculum all the time, and then as a board, we're surprised, oh, wait, how did that video get in there? Oh, it's because we don't know what's in that unit, and if you know what's in the unit, well, then maybe you're not going to be surprised that the video landed in there. I feel like that happens all the time. So if as a board, we see what all those content areas are, and we say, yes, we approve this. This is great. We're not going to have those concerns. I don't feel that we had wide for the selected. We just changed a word from selected to representative, and we're seeing the same thing. And it's the same concern, is that, okay, well, which ones are you choosing then over which other ones? And how are you, and then so back to my question, if at the department level we make a change, if it's not listed here, does it come to the board?
Well, we did share in that prototype summary that every year we would bring levels of no change, major change, or minor changes to the board. So you'd have an opportunity to see.
Change to this, or change to the curriculum?
The curriculum, right.
But I don't know what it is now. I won't have seen the original curriculum. to know what the change might be for the future. And I might also add, I've seen, at least for English 9, what your full curriculum looks like. We're not asking for strategies for teaching in the classroom, which is probably some activities might be in there, is that correct? Suggested activities in the classroom. I know some school districts include that. We're not asking for that. So yeah, that's a pared down, that's less than what a lot of other school districts are doing. We're not asking to see the actual assessments, just general ideas of what kind of assessments they might see during the year. And I just think if we don't have a fuller picture, I think we end up in the same spot.
Do we need to take a vote as a board? Because I agree with Amy. I feel like we came to I know you may not have supported it, which that happens, right? Like we're not always on the same page.
So are
but
you
I felt
calling the question? Because then we can just vote on it now.
Go ahead, call the question.
We are voting on it, but I did
No.
have one thing I wanted to say was that I do like the format of this, and I think it's going to be helpful for parents when they're looking online. But the question I did, and I was going to raise before Christina did, was the representative part.
And-
So I have some questions as a parent, if I'm online looking at this, what exactly is included in the learning goals if we're omitting some of them? And I think that may cause some
Lisa has
confusion.
four.
But I think there's an important point about the policy, is the policy, while it's nice to have that transparency with parents, and as a parent, yes, I want to know that, the policy says specifically that this is for teachers, that we are instructing teachers, that we are endorsing this curriculum, and that this is what we hope for in the classroom, and how you intend to teach it, well, that's up to you, but you have we've got your backs that this is what you're teaching. I mean, I think it's a good way to communicate, so we don't have the questions about, is this appropriate in the classroom or not? We're saying, here, we are endorsing this, and this is what we understand the curriculum to be. Can you pull up 105 so we can see it?
Sure. And back to Mrs. Hillman's question, what it currently exists would continue if parents would see a representative sample of the learning goals within a unit of study or the entire curriculum. The request to see more detail is always available, and that would be granted.
I also want to
Dr.
know.
Justice
What I'm
is on
getting
there.
at is that may be confusing for parents looking online.
Sorry, it's 106.
And they're looking at a list of bullet points, thinking that that's a comprehensive list of what's being taught in the classroom.
But
it's
they
actually
put
not.
representative in it.
And I think that's the problem.
That's the problem.
Okay, so I just want to go back to the thing I raised about at the last meeting where we discussed this in depth, when we had our own separate governance meeting to discuss this in depth, that we all agreed that we were satisfied with the level that we were at. And my concern is that in public we say one thing, but then behind closed doors, there's some that have concerns, and then they're brought up last minute like this.
I don't think I've ever brought up anything last minute. I had the same concern last time as this time.
But we agreed as a board, and I can voice my opinion and my thoughts as an individual person, but we as a board of 9 said, yes, we're comfortable with this, please move forward, and please present it the next time.
We had a discussion, if I recall.
I don't want to have arguments back and forth. I want to be able to complete your conversation
I don't
and
know if-
respect each other.
But there there was a discussion that they would go back and tweak it. And so now we're seeing the tweak. And the tweak is we changed selected to representative. And that's not a real change.
You want to let Dr. Justice?
Yes, Dr. Justice would like to speak, and after she's done speaking, what I'd like to ask you to do is pull up the prototype for the curriculum on English 9.
Okay.
I just want to show, I want to get specific about where the concern is, because it sounds like everything. I want to get really specific. So, Dr. Justice?
Thank you so much. So just to reiterate something Mike said, and then to hit on a couple other points, we're thinking about, so within English 9, the issue that got raised in the first place was where we had district level approved core texts that we are now on a journey to add, not reflected in an individual unit so that we can see. And so we've mapped those together, and we've tried to take English and say, what else is like that in math, music, social studies, other content areas that are district level resources that can be reflected. And so you see primary resources and text, as well as anything that is a supplemental approved district resource. simply showing all of the learning goals, like we get back into even the discussion we had around the units and whether we could see kind of like this unit plan or if we would have to see every single specific detail for all of them, and whether we wanted to be looking at about 300 different kinds of documents or something that would be wholly unsustainable. For each of the units that are in each of the courses, the 300-ish courses that are represented, there are many, many, many learning goals, I mean, in each individual unit. So you get into what was a scary number previously in the discussion of like 1,500 to 2,250, and it's that times 10 to 12 per each of those individual units. So now we're talking a lot of content. So we were doing our best job to reflect the standards that are embedded there as well, which get at the detail where all of the learning goals come from. So that's kind of demystified. We're willing to have conversations with folks if they have further questions, obviously around anything additional. And simply by lifting those up and linking those resources, it doesn't eliminate the possibility that a teacher is also handpicking another ancillary resource from something to supplement a single lesson. So even seeing what we have there, it does always come down to trusting the judgment of the educators in the classroom who are certified to select those resources to support the learning goals and activities within the classroom. So there is never going to be a level of detail that assures and reassures everyone that, you know, nothing is happening that we don't know of, right? It really does come down to understanding that we're going to make good choices and that we're going to work with the students in the classroom to make that happen. So this was just an attempt to try to make that, you know, further clear and to link those things in a new way.
I think what this is, what we're trying to do, at least what I'm hoping to do, is create a baseline. Here's our curriculum. And if there are changes that teachers and departments need to see, and administrators need to see happen, then they can come back to the board, but creating that baseline. Another issue that came up in English 9 was not just the question about the core text and how they're being used and if they're being used at all, but also that there were changes to the curriculum that the board never knew about. So there was the unit on the epic poem, and then an alternative unit you could teach instead of the epic poem that was written in there. So I think it's about creating a baseline that the board, because we do, according to 105, have responsibility over the curriculum, that we have a way to have an understanding at the board level as well as all through our school of what the curriculum is, so that when changes need to be made, we have a baseline that we're working from. And when you give me selected or representative learning goals, that's not a baseline. I feel like it's just who chooses what goes in there, and I don't know what else is being taught. And back to 105, which we've moved away from, this is to help direct our teachers. If I could I'm gonna have to pull it up because I can't see that far away.
This is the prototype we have.
Okay.
Okay, since you have the prototype, are you done?
I'm not. I want to read 106 because it's not for transparency for the public. That's a nice thing that happens because of this. But each unit shall be construed as providing a basic framework for the planned instruction. Within this framework, I'm sorry, that's not the section. Units of instruction shall be prepared for and adopted by the board, that means voted on here, in order to direct and assist the professional staff toward the attainment of academic standards. That's the purpose of this policy, is to communicate to our professional staff what the curriculum is, what's board-approved curriculum. If we don't have a baseline, how can we do that?
Okay, so my question, since you've got it pulled up here, I think what I'm zeroing in on where the concern is if you can scroll up a little bit more, it's the unit of study with representative learning goals. Can you scroll up?
No.
Scroll down, Sean.
Oh, scroll down.
That's good, right there.
Yep.
All right, so you've got Unit 1, you've got 3 bullets there that says these are the learning goals. Now, you picked those goals, right? You selected, you said, here's a because you pick them from a list. I would imagine that Unit 1 has a list of learning goals.
There you go.
That's correct.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah.
So you picked the 3
This
and
is
said,
a representative sample.
Represented, right?
Yeah.
As opposed to cut and pasting all of them.
Correct.
There, right? Because maybe there's 8, and now you've only put 3.
Correct.
So what would it take to put 8 there? or I'm saying, look, it's a number that I just picked out of my head, right? Whatever that number is. What would it take to do that? You're cut and paste, you're selecting anyway, as opposed to selecting them all and then pasting them there.
Yeah, it would take copying and pasting them in there. But
Right.
where we left with the board in our last conversation is not to go as deep as every learning goal, to have a representative set of learning goals to understand what type of learning activities are happening for our students under that umbrella of a unit. That gets into the thousands and thousands of learning goals for 300 courses. I mean, that's where we left at our last conversation. So we came back with this prototype aligned to the conversations that we had. So
I
that's
feel
where it
that
is.
at the previous meetings, the curriculum, I was clear, and a lot of us were clear. I thought we had a general consensus that we did not want to get into the weeds with all of this, and that's what I feel like we're doing. I think this is good. This is what's up for the vote, and I would like to call the question.
All right, we call the question.
I'll second it.
We have a second, okay.
We
Call-
need
and-
two-thirds, right? Do we need two-thirds?
We need,
Two-thirds for it, right?
no, just.
For that, no.
Just-
Okay, sorry, just majority. Okay, I'm
just
sorry.
Majority, yeah. All right, so let me call it, so I get it real clear here. Call the question means that we will look at motion to approve the curriculum plan, revised level of curriculum for board adoption, and district-level resource definition for listing with revised level of curriculum for board adoption. We should do a roll call on this, Mrs. Williams.
Is this, are we just voting on the question, or are we voting? Yeah, we're just voting to call the question, then we still have to vote on the.
No, the call to question says you refer
That-
back, I'm going to check with council.
We have to vote to call the question.
You got to vote to call the question.
Yeah.
You got to vote to call the question.
Mhm,
Okay.
and then you, yeah, so this is
Okay,
just
so
to go straight to vote.
Vote to call the question, go straight to vote, okay.
I thought it had to be two-thirds.
Mrs. Hillman?
No.
Mr. Morset?
Yes?
Mrs. Churchick?
Yes.
Mr. Weethorn?
Yes.
Mrs. Miller?
Yes.
Mr. Cassidy?
Yes.
Mrs. Fortier?
Yes.
Mr. Kashani?
Yes.
Mrs. Brusalis?
Yes.
Yes?
Yeah.
That's 8-1.
Yes. Call the
Okay.
question.
All right, so now we vote.
So now we vote. So now we go. Motion to approve the curriculum plan, revised level of curriculum for board adoption, and district-level resource definition for listing with revised level of curriculum for board adoption.
You wanted to do roll call again?
Yes. Just a simple word. Yes, please.
Ready?
Roll call again.
Mrs. Hillman?
No.
Mrs. Fortier?
Yes.
Mr. Morset?
No.
Mr. Weethorn?
No.
Mrs. Miller?
Yes.
Mr. Cassidy?
Yes.
Mrs. Brusalis?
No.
Mr. Kashani?
Yes.
Mrs. Turchick?
Yes.
That's 5-4. Motion passes.
Motion passes.
Mr. Morset, do you mind if I add a couple comments?
No, please.
that's
Go ahead,
over.
Dr.
So
Miller.
We hear the discussion, and so we hear the discussion, and we understand, I think, the purpose of the discussion. So the goal is to ensure that the curriculum that's brought before the board is as clear as possible about what's contained within that course. That's something that we take incredibly seriously. We've heard the dialogue, so we understand this past 5-4. We know that there is a desire for information, and so we'll be as thoughtful as we can as we work with our 300, plus staff to be able to develop that. We hear the importance of resources, and we've tried to identify the difference between district resources like a textbook or something that's used by all students in that class versus the kind of things which I think I heard are concerns of people, which is a teacher may make a decision to use a resource because they think it's going to add to the quality of the learning experience for the student. And when they do that, 99 times out of 100, it's really positive and it helps. 1 time out of 100, it didn't go as planned or somebody becomes upset, and that doesn't mean we shouldn't do that. It means that we need to continue to be thoughtful about the tools and resources we use, but we are humans and there are going to be some mistakes that are made. So I hear all of this. I wanted to say that. We have a lot of work to do, not in terms of creating things, but in taking what we have and making sure that it fits appropriately within sort of a template. So the way we go about doing this, we will take these samples, we will get a small team together of probably department chairs across the different disciplines. We'll look at an example within each department, something that can be a target for the rest of the department in that area. We'll come up with a game plan, and then we'll get people to work on it. So hopefully, it's our goal to try to get this back to the board with over 300 of those prototypes, the 300 of those, by June timeframe. So that is the goal. That will provide a baseline, whether it's a perfect baseline or a important step. It'll provide that by June, and then we can work through things from there. So thank you for the support. We certainly appreciate all the discussion about academic achievement and growth and curriculum instruction and assessment. So thank you for that.
Before we move on real quick, Dr. Miller, now that we have the curriculum kind of straightened out, because that was our issue, we need to go back with Angel of Greenwood and put that back up at some point for a vote? I mean, not today, obviously, we're not adding it now.
Yes, there are going to be departmental things that come out of this. So for example, the core novels, or core text, sorry for the English teachers who are listening, core text, because it doesn't have to be a novel to be a text. We have to talk about that. So
Okay.
there are going to be certain areas where I think we want to be very clear so there's no misunderstanding. And again, there's never an intent to be unclear, but in terms of if you talk to a ninth grade English teacher and you look at the example that we have up there, they're not teaching from novels for half or 3/4 of the year, which means they're not necessarily, quote, covering, end quote, all of those novels for every class every year. And so where does that fit? I just want to make sure we're on the same page.
Okay.
So
I just didn't want to forget about it.
No,
It's
we'll be
come up a
ready to
couple
bring it
times, so,
back, but
all
I
right.
think there's going to be more discussions to be had that require a little bit more focus.
And I feel like that vote, it would be nice to see that revised and completed English 9, since there were so many things that were found when we dug a little deeper into English 9.
Yeah, I think what we want to do is we want to create and foster a culture where we can collaborate directly with our teachers and representative staff. We can talk about these in a healthy, productive way. We can come to some sort of consensus and agreement and understanding, and then we go about doing the work. So that's what I want to foster. And so I don't think a planning or voting meeting is the environment that we want to do that. I think at some point we're going to have to talk about stuff like English, and this does not lend itself to good dialogue. So I'd like to have like an academic achievement.
Yeah, I mean, I'm
joint
just saying
governance
that
meeting.
perhaps we should see what that curriculum looks like.
I heard what you said, yeah,
Okay,
I
I'm not
understand.
sure, because I'm not sure that's what I heard you say back.
So let me say this, and we've talked about this before, just to be very specific. The novel is a vehicle. Part of our challenge with the discussion of novels is the novel as curriculum versus the novel as a vehicle to achieve learning goals that we saw identified. That's where we get into all of this discussion. There are certain novels or pieces of work or text that sort of straddle that line, and I think that's what we were spending time talking about. And so again, we could have 5 pieces of text in ninth grade. Is the expectation that every one of those 5 texts must be included for every single student, every single class, every single year? And if so, 5 might be too many, and we may need to do less. Or the teacher, when she or he talks about it, says, hey, we're going into a unit. We have 2 novels that students can choose from. And so part of the class is reading Angel of Greenwood, part of the class is reading To Kill a Mockingbird, and then the teacher's facilitating discussion amongst the class. 25 students, 12 are reading 1, 13, like this is what happens in school. So how do we list that on the curriculum? How do we then utilize that in the classroom, and how do we empower our teachers to feel confident? This is what we're talking about. So I hear you, and we have talked about this end of January, February, March, April, and I, again, all I can tell you is we will work hard to try to meet the target the board has approved tonight as the format, and then we'll keep working on implementing.
Okay, all right, thank you. Moving on to item 3.09, planetarium bid. Motion to approve the bid advertisement for the planetarium projection system and installation as attached.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion on this? All in favor?
Yes.
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 Yes. Excuse me. All opposed? Motion passes. Okay. Item 3.10, motion to approve the student attendance and application of the student discipline code for the girls volleyball team to travel to Mechanicsburg, Pennsylvania from Friday, September 20th to Saturday, September 21st to participate in the volleyball tournament as described in the attached field trip request form.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion? All in favor?
Yes.
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 All,
Sorry.
all opposed? Motion passes. Okay. Item 3.11, motion to accept in accordance with Board Policy 702, gifts, grants, donations, and with sincere gratitude, a monetary donation of $100 to the bocce team from the Barber family.
Second.
Motion's made and seconded. Any discussion on that?
I just have a question. Do they not have a booster group, the bocce team? Is that why this had to be a separate item? Is that why it's on here?
They do have a booster
Okay.
team, but individuals can as well.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm just.
It doesn't happen often.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
it does happen. I think we even had a board member submit or donate some stringed instruments. not
Okay,
too long.
okay, that's fine.
Yeah.
Anything else? Okay, all in favor?
Yes.
Yes.
All opposed? Motion passes. Item 3.12, motion to approve the PRSD locally designed trauma-informed approach professional development training program as attached.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion?
So I'd like to ask the 4 members of the board who were part of the development of this training deck, because, and I appreciate the spirit of what's in this deck, and I know that there was work. The spirit was to have this be a locally influenced deck. I personally would like to see more work done, but I'll respect the fact that if the 4 core members had an opportunity to work with you on that, then I can live with this. But, you know, there's a problem with the definition of trauma. That's the core problem. It's too broad. And that's also part of the problem with some of the other stuff that we're talking about related to the counseling curriculum. Too broad a definition. You cast a wide net, 13 out of 20 students suffer from trauma. And so, with that said, though, again, the core 4, if you guys are good, I'll be good. But I'd like to see more work done on this.
What areas would you like to see addressed?
Well, I think it starts with the definition of trauma. And let me go to the slides.
Tell us what slide.
Page 14, maybe, for the types of trauma.
Yeah, so 14 there, that's a slide. Before that, the slide right before that, too. You know, to reference that A study, that's a flawed study. And the entire current culture is based on a study done in 1998 that is flawed. Now, that's not what the consensus would tell you among the experts. So I guess this is where I'd want to see more work, just to continue to refine some of the content, just to make sure that we're okay with it. And if you guys are okay with it, then I'll be okay with it.
Well, I think for me, I was okay with it, Mark, because I think for each of us, what I think is trauma and what you think is trauma are two different things. You know, I don't think, you know, personally something might not be traumatic to me, but it might be traumatic to you. And who am I to say that's not trauma? So for me, when we reviewed this, we wanted to make sure that we were capturing everything, but still allowing some gray area.
Thank you, Joe.
Mark, I'm happy to look at that again. I think that the memo that we received from Mr. Hoffman help somewhat, and then provides us the opportunity to ask more questions about what we're required, and how much leeway we have in even defining that. So what we're tied to and what we locally as a school board can do as far as the trauma-informed approach with professional development. So I'm happy to look at it again.
I mean, also given, I feel like we could take another look at it as well, and maybe take into consideration some of your concerns as well.
Can we state who was on the committee,
Yeah,
just for
it's in the-
clarification?
It's on the agenda.
It's
Oh,
in
is
public
it? It
content.
is,
Yep.
Christina.
It's that last paragraph.
And Leslie's the other one.
Okay.
It's
Sorry,
on the agenda.
thank you. Okay.
That side.
Got it.
So this was back to school culture and diversity and.
Oh, I know.
And everything that
Yeah.
we were trying to collaborate together in developing this. So we did, and it's listed there, we had an opportunity to meet and discuss and get feedback from our board members. Then we presented this presentation at the last board meeting, again, for feedback. This is a required professional development session that needs to occur, that should occur this school year with our staff. I think that's what Ms. Hillman was referencing, the requirement too. But again, the crux of the whole concept is awareness for our teachers that, trauma exists, and knowing that and being aware that you have a diverse group of students in front of you, what can you do to support all students? I think that gets a little bit to Mr. Cassidy's point. So that's the intention of this professional development for our staff.
Understood. I understand all that. I'm pushing back, though, because I'm not going to accept the status quo in this. The thinking is flawed. So, again, I will go back to, if it was, and I know how these meetings go. You guys present, it's mostly listening from the core 4. But if there was an actual interactive dialogue where they said, I don't like that, I'd like this, like if there was an actual two-way street.
There was an interactive dialogue.
Okay.
And there were other slides that are not included in the Pine-Richland proposed deck that were utilized in other trainings provided in other locations. So this absolutely reflects the best thinking over multiple months of work of a collaborative team. That's what it is.
Mark, there was back and forth.
Absolutely.
We were able to ask questions and give some input. But again, I go back to even the memo that we received from Mr. Hoffman and giving us more detail, and maybe we can ask some more questions.
So I'm not
just of Mr. Hoffman, but.
I'm sorry,
also.
I didn't mean to interrupt. So for anybody not following the inside baseball, the State Board of Ed passed regulations that require certain professional development occur for teachers. If those teachers are not out of college yet, they're going to receive it through their collegiate or university program. If those teachers are newly hired, they're going to receive it as a part of their induction program. If those teachers are already in the workforce, then they need to receive training on a variety of topics, trauma being one of multiple topics, in order to continue to maintain and meet their certification requirements. That's what the regs say. And again, the definition was a selected definition. There are other definitions. I think for professional educators, they would look through the slide deck, and I understand your point, I think, Mr. Kashani, but this was what they do. Like this would not cause significant concern. It's just reinforcement of the educator training they have received over the years.
Again, I'm going to lean on the 4 that were in the room. So if you guys are good, I'm good. But this is the kind of conversation we have to have.
I
And-
raised some of those questions when we
Okay.
were there, and I felt like I said to Dr. Pasquinelli, I said, our teachers are fantastic, and they're probably already doing a lot of this, being aware and caring for our kids. So this, I felt like, was just an awareness for them, just some extra things to think about. It's a slide deck training. How long would this training take place? Or
It's a minimum of an hour,
Yeah. So it's.
Thank you. Thank you.
There's strategies
But
built in for teachers to consider in terms of supporting students.
Right.
Okay, that's good enough for me.
Yeah.
Nothing else? Okay, remind everybody, motion to approve, it's been seconded.
Phil, is your mic on?
No, it's not, thank you. I thought my voice was loud enough, I guess not. Motion was to approve the PRS, Pine-Richland School District locally designed trauma-informed approach professional development training program as attached. It's been seconded, and we've had our discussion. All in favor?
Yes.
Yes.
All opposed? Motion passes. Thank you for the conversation, Mark. Item 3.13, action item, motion to approve a renewal agreement with Sodexo with a guaranteed, it's because I need water, I think, with a financial return of $86,533 for the fiscal year 24-25. Specific contract language was negotiated with district administration with final approval by the Pennsylvania Department of Education.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion on this item? All in favor? Yes.
Yes.
All opposed? Motion passes. Item 3.14, trash recycling. Motion to authorize the bid advertisement for trash and recycling hauling services.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion on this? All in favor?
Yes.
Yes. All opposed? Motion passes. Item 3.15, first reading of batch policies 300 employees. Motion to approve the very first reading of the batch policies 300 employees as attached.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion on this?
Phil, I
Yes.
would like to pull one policy. I have questions for the solicitor on, I have a question on what we have in our policy versus what I'm reading in the school code, but it's 312. So I would like to just pull that and then vote on the rest of them.
Okay. Do we have to have a vote, or is it recommended?
No, I
Well,
Yeah, you can just, we
you
can
can
just.
just poll, okay. All right, thank you.
Think so, yeah.
Any other discussion? Okay. So, remind everybody that the motion to approve the first reading of batch policy 300 employees is attached with removal of 312. All in favor?
Yes.
All opposed? Motion does pass, absent of 312
For the first reading.
and the first reading.
Yep.
Okay. Mark, it's up to you now.
All right, my pleasure. So 401, 402 are staples of finance between months of October and June. We talk about financial reports and approved financial reports and accounts payable, and also budget transfers. So those are the first two. They are informational items that we will vote on next meeting on the 22nd. The 4.03 item is an informational item. This has to do with a program that helps us manage unemployment compensation. It is something that we've renewed for a while. And 4.04 is a reminder that we will have our next finance governance meeting on May 6th to discuss the budget, which you've already touched on a bit. That's it.
And Mark, on that May 6th meeting, it's unfortunate, but I will miss that, and I know how much I wanted to attend that, so I will have my questions in advance.
Okay.
And I'll give them to a board member.
Okay.
Thank you. Okay, moving on to item 5, buildings and grounds. Joe?
5.01 is an information item for board consideration at the April regular meeting. It's a motion to approve the replacement of the Richland Elementary auditorium house lighting by Pittsburgh Stage Inc. in the amount of $48,799. And 5.02 is an information item for board consideration at the April regular meeting. Motion to approve the replacement of the condensing unit for the walk-in cooler at Eaton Hall Upper Elementary School by Cameron Property Solutions at a cost of $11,982.40.
Okay, thank you. Moving on to item 6, academic achievement. Christina?
For board consideration at the regular April meeting, a motion to approve a one-year contract with Blackboard Learn in the amount of $14,980. Item 6.02 is an information item and a library reconsideration update, and I will turn this over to Dr. Miller.
Great, thank you. I prepared a brief statement for the record and minutes. Given the attention and importance of this topic, I have written a comprehensive summary in board docs to document the process and also clarify my thinking and approach. I wrote it in a manner so that it can stand on its own. However, I will walk through several key elements and examples in a few minutes. Book challenges are one of several national political themes that are tied to culture wars in the United States. The discussions happening here are also happening in other Pennsylvania and Western Pennsylvania school districts. The number and frequency of book challenges are increasing. I respect the importance of this topic. I understand there are diverse viewpoints and strongly held beliefs that exist in our community and related to this topic. In particular, I understand that sexually related content can be tough to read and highly troublesome to some of our families and community members. I have listened and been thoughtful. Given Board Policy 109.1, I have owned my responsibility as superintendent and spent hundreds of hours on this topic. The vast majority of that time was spent outside of my regular work week, given the day-to-day operations of our schools and key strategic initiatives of the district. Only a small portion of that time was the actual reading of the 14 books. More time was devoted to understanding the framework for decision-making and analysis, and to ensure that I had a broad contextual understanding of the topic. I have read more broadly than just the 14 titles that were requested for reconsideration. In one case, I read one of the reconsidered books twice. The library is not the classroom. At the secondary level, students' use of the library is often voluntary and optional. I know that we have a wide range of students and families in the district. Within the high school alone, we have a wide range of students. Within any single grade level, we have a wide range of students. There's opportunity with this topic and many other topics for ongoing conversation at home between parents and their children. Nothing prevents parents and their children from engaging in discussions at home about library book selection. In this regard, parents can impart their values and beliefs to their children and establish expectations for library book selection. Students can log into their own library accounts from home. Parents can see library book activity. I will walk through a little bit of the information posted in public content. So I'm not going to touch on everything here, but again, within a short period of time in October of '23, we received a number of requests for reconsideration that covered 14 titles. These were the first requests for reconsideration received by the district. We then reached out to our parents and community members to see if there was interest in potentially being a part of the committee. To the credit of this community, 329 parents and/or community members responded to the survey. A lottery resulted in 5 parent/community members being selected. All 5 who came out of the lottery agreed to participate, and they joined 5 members of the staff that I had identified: high school principal, middle school principal, an English teacher at the high school, a school counselor, social worker, and also our librarian department chair, who is at a different building, not at the high school or middle school. That group, after an initial meeting, really just invested in reading the 14 titles. That is a significant investment and commitment. I could not be more thankful to the members of that committee for engaging in the work and then also engaging in their consensus process. Again, I was not a part of that consensus process. They did that separate from me, and they prepared a brief written report with their recommendations. It is attached for public content. There are some legal considerations that are outlined, but I do want to talk for a moment about the approach that I specifically took. So, Mr. Stobin, if you could scroll down to Superintendent Approach and Analysis. So first, really looking about each and every book, some demographic information about who the author is, title, copyright, age range that's recommended, awards, reviews, and then also the specific objections that were put in the request for reconsideration forms. I then took time to read the entire book to better discern the context for the word or passages that had been identified. And as I mentioned, I read one of the books twice. As I was reading, I was looking to consider whether there was literary, artistic, societal, or political value to the work. We've heard before that phrase around windows and mirrors. Sometimes we read to see something that we do not and have not experienced ourselves. Other times we read to see ourselves reflected in the work. Both can be extremely powerful. Educational suitability was a critical consideration for me. So at our high school, we have 1,500 students, and we see the age range is generally 14 to 18 years old, diverse backgrounds, interests, and maturity levels. And at the middle school, 725. Because library books are optional for students, the stance that I have taken is that every book in the library should be suitable for some students, but no book in the library has to be educationally suitable for every student. The example that I would give would be, as we think about a high school, an entering ninth grader is extremely different than a senior who's preparing to move on to pursue their path. So again, that idea of educational suitability means suitable for some of our students. Specifically around sexually related content, I also considered whether I felt that the content was pervasively vulgar, obscene, or designed to appeal to prurient interests. And you'll see that word used again as I looked at it and it defined it. It was intended to create sexual excitement or lust. An example would be a depiction of sexual assault or abuse that's within a book. Those are very difficult to read, but as a reader, I did not interpret or understand that passage to be one to have a appeal to a prurient interest. I read more broadly than the 14 titles, and that was important for me, an important part of the last 5 or 6 months. And the decision to read more broadly than just the 14 titles emerged from some of the work that we had been doing. And I looked at past board-approved books. So Pine-Richland school boards have passed books. They've approved books through this type of process. And so I looked on those lists of approved books, some of them back to 2002, to identify books that I thought maybe were in the same general genre or type. And an example of that was The Color Purple. Again, Color Purple is not one of the 14 titles that's up for reconsideration at Pine-Richland, but it's very much representative of the types of works that are here, and one that I think most people are generally aware of in some shape or fashion, whereas some of the other titles may be titles they have not heard before. Color Purple, as an example, is a book that's in every high school library for every district that surrounds Pine-Richland School District. And I don't know that that would be surprising to anybody, but it is an example of how that context of understanding books that are in libraries is important in considering Policy 109.1 and what was in front of me. I listened to speakers in all of the meetings and have read the correspondence that have come from members of our community. I've listened to the board, and certainly the clear recommendations and quality of work of the committee, as I mentioned, is much appreciated. So that was sort of the approach that I took in terms of implementing Policy 109.1. So my recommendations or decision for each of those books is based upon the approach that I've taken and what I have learned through the process. It is based on my role as superintendent of schools and as a commissioned officer. I'm not going to read through each of the 14 because you can see that the format of how I structured my recommendation is consistent. I will start with The Bluest Eye. This was published in 1970. The author of the book has been awarded Nobel and Pulitzer Prizes. Taken as a whole, which I mean to say reading the entire work and then considering any passages or concerns within the context of the entire work, that book addresses historical perspectives on race, culture, poverty. There's so much in there. Sexual depictions, which are difficult to read, do not appeal, in my professional opinion, to prurient interests. I do believe the book requires a mature reader. I do believe the book should remain in the high school library for optional reading by interested students. I make note here specifically about The Bluest Eye because it was an example of a Pine-Richland School Board approved book in 2002, as a part of the Pine-Richland High School recommended ninth grade English reading list. 19 Minutes, published in 2007. Again, an award-winning book, and when I consider it taken as a whole, it has tremendous literary value. It addresses critical topics like school safety and violence. It describes the incredible impact of bullying and harassment. It describes some of the social pressures that are faced by students and felt by students. There are sexually themed elements within the book. They make up a small portion of the book, but they, in my professional opinion, don't appeal to prurient interests, are in fact tied to those social pressures. So again, I believe that it should remain in the high school library for optional reading by interested students. I took the same approach independently and individually for each of the books. It was extremely helpful for me to read more broadly than just the 14 books. There are several books here that are graphic novels. Graphic novels have artwork. They have less text, some text, but you can still convey the full message of the story of the book through both pictures and text. And again, I reached 14 conclusions. All of those conclusions are the same. I felt each book should remain in the library for optional reading by interested students. Thank you.
So, go ahead.
Oh, go ahead.
I was just going to say, thank you to the people on the committee. It was a ton of work. I know there were like 300 more people that wanted to do it. I was the person that had to pick the names out of the hat. I didn't recognize any of the names. I think I recognized one of the names as one of the alternates. And I am in the agreement. We had the option to change this policy and we chose not to. So I believe that our policy currently stands as we, there's like a miscommunication in the community that thinks like the board was the people banning these books. It was parents, as is their right, to ask things to be, reviewed or be reviewed. So I feel like we did the committee, we had the superintendent report, we have the report. I believe as a board we should accept this, and then we should move on. That is my opinion on this.
Thank you, Amy. And I think for me, it's been more about the policy and the process than anything. And it's really been a shame to see where it devolved. But we do need to clean up this policy. I've learned early on when I joined the board that the board has three big responsibilities. And those three are hire the superintendent, support him or her, and hold him accountable. Be a good steward of district finances and pass balanced budgets, number 2. And number 3 is to pass policy and to make sure that policy's followed. And policies sometimes aren't tested right away. This is the first time this policy has been tested. And so I do think we have to learn from this and make the policy better from what we learned. And so, for example, and this is policy 109.1. So in the policy, page 2, there's a statement that says each school librarian shall provide the building principal with a list of all materials purchased on a monthly basis or as new items are required. That list will be announced to parents and guardians via a building newsletter, which came up in November, and we don't believe that's happening. And if it is, it's not clear. So we need to at least tighten that up at a minimum. I also think we need to add donated to this policy, because some books are donated, they're not purchased. In fact, donated materials is referenced right after that under the acquisition section. So there's a few language things in the policy we should firm up and be more clear. I also think that the policy references a form, which it's not clear, but the form kind of implies the board has to make a decision on the recommendations. And although not stated, a 2/3 majority wouldn't be needed to overrule the superintendent's recommendation. So that should be in this policy as well. That should be stated, a supermajority is needed. So now this isn't something we change right now. We would follow the three-read process to change this policy, but it's work that still needs to be done with this board. So, now, we do need to finally conclude, though, even the enforcement of the current policy, the board does need a vote. There's a signature page of this form, page 2 of the form, board review and action. It actually says board review and action, number 4. There's a date and there's a decision.
Do we need to vote?
That's not in the policy, though.
not in the
It's in the AR, which we don't vote on AR.
Yeah, I would
That's
think
what
the
I
actual
think.
policy, when there's a conflict, and I will turn this over to Mr. Hoffman in a minute, would supersede the AR if
When
we
the
don't
policy,
conflict.
when the policy references the form is part of the policy.
So there obviously is an incongruity
Correct.
between the statement and the policy that says the superintendent's decision is final versus the form, which does, indicates board review and action. That absolutely needs to be reconciled. The board it's undisputed, the board has the legal authority to take action on these issues. Whether or not you do so, though, is at your discretion, given the way your policy reads. You could take no action based upon the language in your policy that says the superintendent's decision is final. Conversely, again, because you have the legal authority, if you decide that you want to, as a board, you want to exercise that discretion, I think you have the ability to do so. But I would not say that board action is required. It's, I think, at your discretion.
So, thank you, Matt. So when I look at a lot of conversations tonight in previous meetings, there's a lot of conversation around rule of policy. We follow rule of policy, rule of law. According to the policy, and I know that that's an AR, but the policy says that the superintendent's recommendation is final. And so we have conversations about policy, and we challenge, and we ask, and we push, and that's what we do. We follow policy. And according to policy, for tonight, this is it, we follow policy. That would be my view. We have followed policy. And the decision has rested with Dr. Miller, and he has made his recommendation. Thank you, by the way. That was very thorough, well thought out, and to the committee, too, as well. And I believe that's where we stand.
I was going to say, but I do agree it needs cleaned up.
I agree.
And
Going
that
forward,
should
yeah.
be something we do
Yeah.
soon.
I mean, at a minimum, we can't just let the policy sit as is.
No.
Because any parent has the right to use this policy in this form. And everyone should feel comfortable using this form. And we should be very clear on how that form, how the policy is going to be followed. And we can use this as a learning experience to make this more accurate. So, at a minimum, let's do that.
Yep.
At the future. Okay.
But I'd like to see it, I don't want to, I'd like to start to do this like the next meeting. Like, let's revise the policy, have 3 reads, let's get this done now so that it doesn't get forgotten about.
So just to clarify, we're saying we're not taking any action. We're taking what the superintendent.
Are we comfortable with that?
Well, I'd
We're
like
following
to,
policy.
I would
We are
like to
following
take
policy.
action, but if there's not a
We're
majority,
following
then.
policy. That's how, that would be my opinion.
So we don't need to take a vote on it any.
This is only an
No, it's an
information. This is only an
informational
informational,
tonight,
yeah.
So there's no
Well-
vote tonight regardless.
If someone, yeah.
Phil, I want to make sure I understand what you're saying. When
Yeah,
you say
yeah.
we're following policy, you're saying you're fine with just leaving it as is what you're saying.
Yes, but I
Right.
agree, we do need to fix this policy.
I'm just saying, that's not a clear statement, because, again, the policy is vague, so you can't say we're following policy when the policy is vague.
The policy is, in my mind, the policy is straightforward. I've read it, okay, and I see it. Now, there's this document here that has incongruency, and I agree with you, we have to make sure we settle that down. But as far as following policy, we have to look at that policy and follow that.
Okay, we can
And-
just.
and we'll go
we
through
can
a
just agree
discussion and we'll get it.
So can we have in the next meeting this on the agenda to discuss revisions? And then bring it, let's take it through the 3-read process.
Sure.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Marianne?
So this item as written will not come back,
No.
correct?
Correct.
Just to be clear. Okay, thank you.
I lost where I am. 6.03, I think.
6 point, yeah, thank you. I got it.
Item 6.03 is an information item, and I'm just going to turn it over, but it's a 30-day review of textbooks, correct?
That's correct, yes. So we've, again, been sharing updates over the course of this year. You can see that we have our final recommendation to go on 30-day review for ELA, World Language Spanish, Environmental Science, Mathematics for Pre-Calc, and Statistics. We did ask for community input over the last couple of weeks. We had a little bit of input there. This is still another opportunity over the next 30 days, so those items will be on display here at the high school. We'll keep them here in DeWitt, and we'll also have them at Northern Tier Library for anybody interested. There is an online way of evaluating these resources and providing feedback, and then we would bring final recommendations to the board on May 20th for approval for purchase.
Any questions?
None.
Item 6.04 is an information item, a reminder of an academic achievement governance meeting, which is scheduled for May 20th, 2024. The topic is the Science In-Depth Program Review. In-depth program review, mini review, currently being worked on by the Science Department.
Mini review, okay.
Okay, thank you. Student Services, Lisa.
Agenda item 7.01 for board consideration at the April regular meeting is a motion to approve a contract with Dr. Mantella, MD, of Martin G. Gregorio, MD and Associates, as designated school physician, June 30th, 2027, as attached. Agenda item 7.02 for board consideration at the April regular meeting is a motion to approve a contract with CHIPS Dental Associates, LLC, as designated school dentist through June 30th, 2027, as attached. Item 7.03 for board consideration at the regular April meeting is a motion to approve, in accordance with Board Policy 613, cooperative purchasing, the purchase of musical instruments from Volkwines through CoStar's cooperative purchasing program at a cost to the school district of $24,850. Agenda item 7.04 for board consideration at the regular April meeting is a motion to approve the student attendance and application of the Student Discipline Code for the Air Force Junior ROTC students to travel to Elliott Community Learning Center in Akron, Ohio, to participate in a drill competition on Saturday, April 20th, 2024, as described in the attached field trip request form.
No, I mean it. I wasn't intending.
Item 7.05 for board consideration at the regular April meeting is a motion to accept, in accordance with Board Policy 702, and with sincere gratitude, a donation to the Pine-Richland Youth Wrestling Organization for a new wrestling mat for the auxiliary green gym. The total cost is $15,718.21. Details related to this donation are attached. And agenda item 7.06. This is listed as a reminder, Phil, but I think it's also a discussion. I'm recommending that we move the joint governance meeting to an agenda item on the April 22nd meeting as a discussion. I'm meeting with the administration tomorrow to review the resources that have been on display as well as the curriculum, and then coming up with the best way to present that to the board at the April 22nd meeting. I think that gives us enough time.
So is that something we would need to vote on if we want to move that to the 20, if we want to just cancel that meeting? I mean, I just don't know, I mean, I'm kind of asking Mr. Hoffman, like, if the decision is that we feel as a board that we could not have that April 15th meeting and just cover this as an agenda item on the 22nd, do we need to vote to do that?
have a scheduled meeting on the 15th?
No.
We do.
It was added. It was advertised already.
It was advertised.
We can just cancel it and make it
You can
an
just cancel it. It doesn't
announcement.
require a board vote.
Okay. Well,
So Phil, I'd like to add that to the April 22nd agenda as an
Yeah.
item under student services and a discussion on the school council.
So when that's added, is that going to be added as an information item, or is that going to be added as an action item?
to pass the counseling plan, is it a vote?
It can be, well, I'd like to see how our meeting goes tomorrow. It can be an action item. I think we'll get to that point, so.
Okay.
Well, but
But we-
I don't see how we can get to an action item without a conversation in this room.
Right, well, we would have time for discussion, but we could keep it as an information item.
Yeah, I mean,
on the
so
22nd.
the only way to have it, just procedurally, the only way to have this as an action item on the 22nd is to have the meeting on the 15th.
You're right, yeah. So
So
we'll do it as
information.
an information item on the 22nd, not a voting item.
And then it could be, after that, it could be.
The voting on the May 6th.
Yeah.
So we're canceling the April 15th. Is that accurate?
That's what I'm hearing.
Yes.
Yes.
Woo-hoo, one less meeting.
I have hockey tickets in.
Okay. Lisa, are you complete? Okay.
I'm finished.
Yeah, just that one thing on it too, I just want to make sure that the discussion that we would have had, like the interactivity with the counselors that was designed for that day, so if they're present at the meeting then following, I just want to make sure that we still have the opportunity for that discussion and dialogue to really get into the curriculum and all the resources that have been on display for the board to come in and take a look, K-12, the opportunity between now and then to make sure everybody's really familiar with them, so that we have a really strong discussion. I just wanted to make sure that we were thinking of that. Thanks.
Sure.
Does that work? Okay.
Yeah.
Well, and actually, Kristen, that brings a good point, like, we're going to be making them stay longer and later that, on the 22nd too, to have that discussion. So, does it make sense to have it on the 22nd, but have a staff services at 6?
I think don't we have something before on the?
Do we have- do we-
You mean do a student services 1 hour?
I'm sorry,
from
student
6
services for
from
an hour
6 to
before the,
7?
For the 22nd?
yeah.
It is open.
If it's open,
No,
it makes
We
more
can do it that
sense.
way.
How about
Yeah,
that?
That
Yeah.
gives us a full hour.
And it
then.
shows more
Yeah.
respect for their time, they get out of here earlier.
That's a good
Okay.
idea, Mark.
I think
Is
that makes
that-
I
sense.
will advertise that then.
Yes.
For 6 o'clock
that
on
okay?
April 22nd.
Right.
Yep.
Okay.
Just so we know how this works, when we decide of a meeting, we have to advertise it. There's a cost, it's not a big cost, but it is a cost. So we're advertising the 22nd. We had a negotiations meeting just internally on that day. We'll have to reschedule that and find another time.
I'm not here
Oh,
that
is it
day.
this?
Yeah, it's all right. I mean, it is what it is. So it's a different meeting.
It's a different,
Yeah.
they
But I
could
think
reschedule
Dr.
that meeting to the
Justice's point is well made.
Oh, yeah.
On this topic,
Maybe do it from 5 to 6.
I'm going to wait till everybody's,
Well, no, wait, I can't go. But maybe
got
do
you.
the negotiation thing from 5 to 6.
I think it benefits our
I won't be at
community to have school counseling discussion in the sunshine
Oh,
with
yeah.
the best people involved. And so, to the greatest extent possible, we should be talking about this stuff out here in this room with the right people so that we can, I hope, move past some misconceptions and be able to talk about and get clarity on exactly what is happening and has been happening in those areas. So, thank you.
Yep, 100%. That's what the plan. Okay. Complete? Okay, hang on.
Mike,
Yeah,
are you doing
Mike,
reading
yeah, I'll
from
do
it?
Mike.
Okay.
Mike, I think you're still online. I'll take your items for you. Item 8.01 is a information item for board consideration at the regular April meeting. Motion to approve the PREA, PRESPA personal and athletic, non-athletic supplements as attached.
Second.
Attached. Thank you.
Oh, sorry.
That's
Sorry,
good-
sorry.
That's good practice for next week, or next meeting. Yeah.
Let's move it along.
All right, very good.
Efficient, very
Well done. She's so used to, see, you're so used to me when I bring
I
something
know,
up, it's an
you're right,
action
you're
item,
right,
right?
you're right,
That's
you're right.
how it
I'm on
is.
autopilot right now.
It's a discussion, or information and discussion item here, policy. For board consideration at the regular April meeting, motion to approve the first reading of policy 805.2, school security personnel as attached. And so that'll be at the next meeting at the April. Okay. Item 8.03, the Calm app renewal. It's information item for board consideration at the April regular meeting. Motion to approve a renewal agreement for the Calm mobile application with a 3-year term from April 19th, 2024 through April 19th, 2027, for a total cost of $21,599 and change. That's
Bill,
about
I had a-
$7,000
oh.
invoice annually. Yes.
Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. I
No,
just
it's
wanted to- Before
okay.
you went on, I had a question on that.
Yep.
So will we know then by the 22nd if we have received the grant to cover the cost of the app?
We're still waiting for official approval on that mental health grant. There's, the timelines on them aren't set in stone for anything with the PCCD grants. We did get the safety portion of that approved. We're still waiting on the mental health portion. We're trying to submit some additional documents on other aspects of that grant we applied for, so that may take a little bit longer. But there's no set date where they told us they will approve, and
Okay.
that was similar to the last one.
Okay, and so we had the entire cost for 23-24 covered then through that grant?
Yes,
Okay.
yes,
Thank you.
23, 24. We didn't see, there was no questions on the COM app being covered by that grant. So the questions we got did not relate to the COM app.
Okay.
So
And the COM app specifically is for staff, in terms of resources for our staff.
Do they use it? Do they like it?
They do use it, yes.
We do have statistics on that, so as kind of like the quote admin on that side at the present time, 50% of our employees actually sign up and have an account, and 80% of those folks are actively engaged in the app using it. So we are able to kind of monitor participation and see that it is strong. It's actually above industry standard in terms of engagement.
Okay. All right, thank you. Okay, item 8.04, review of staff services meeting. We held that here previous to the regular meeting, or the planning meeting here today. Okay, that takes care of items 8. Let's move on to operational services. Leslie?
Okay. All right, item 9.01 is a public item. For board consideration at the April meeting, motion to approve the purchase of TriCaster TC-1 along with its accompanying accessories from DVS Direct totaling $13,000 and $170. Any more information on that? No? Okay. Item 9.02 is an information item for board consideration at the April regular meeting. The motion to approve the purchase of 50 iPads from Apple for $28,650 and 200 replacement monitors for the high school computer labs from Bloom for $44,578 for a total of $73,228. Any discussion on that?
No. Go.
Item 9.03, let's see, make sure I have the right one here. Information item for board consideration at the April meeting, motion to approve the submission of an application for the Flexible Instructional Day Program as attached. Dr. Miller.
Mrs. Miller, if you want, I can chime in
Oh,
on
good.
that real quick.
Okay, thank you.
Kristen online. So just real quick, thanks. We have a committee of staff members who, from the first time that we began writing these flexible instructional day applications, which we've had one go through that got extended with the impact of some of the years that were in that span. However, they've helped write the lesson plans that support this, and while Act 80 has allowed for some flexibility with instructional hours and days, we feel like having the FIT application in our back pocket as well as those Act 80 exception days gives us the most flexibility in our calendar if anything comes up, and allows us to keep continuity of the education and the learning should something arise. So we have renewed the application, and with approval in that next month would submit it to the state for consideration, and then that would take us through a new 2-year cycle. So this would be, if something were to happen, like a snow day, for instance, first one, we always get our sledding, hot cocoa, and fun. Second one, we could use a flexible instruction day to allow the kids to log on a 2-hour delay schedule, have synchronous learning with their teachers, and really not miss a beat. So that's the spirit of this one.
Okay, all done? Okay. All right, item 10, board business, review of policies 05 and 6 for discussion. So on the attachments, we have policy 6 redlined, and we have policy 6 meetings redlined. So there's nothing here on 05. So let's call up 06 redline. So the green text, this one's about meetings. the status, third reading, local board procedures. The green text are suggestions by Mrs. Williams. Strikeout text indicates suggestions by Mrs. Williams. And red strikeout text is Pine-Richland School District language not included in the PSBA's version. Bolded black text indicates new updates by PSBA. So I just want to go through to make sure everybody's, any questions about, as you guide yourself through the double odd 6 policy to see on like meeting notifications and so forth, and the changes. I've had an opportunity to review this beforehand. I didn't come up with any questions for myself on any of the changes here.
Yeah, I don't have any
I
questions.
have a question, but not on one of the changes. On the second page.
Page 2? Okay.
Page 2, under agenda notifications, the first sentence, the agenda shall be provided to each school director at least 3 days before the meeting. I'd like to suggest the change, at least 3 business days, or we could put 5 days if we want to include the weekend. So, it used to be in the past that we were getting it on Fridays. I know we've adjusted that, but it'd be nice to have it in the policy, but it reads that way.
Got it. So you want to conform to what's happening?
Right.
Sure.
Yeah,
Because
because we
now
get
we're
it
getting
on
it on
Wednesday,
Wednesdays.
but then we meet, board leadership will meet Thursday, and then, we sometimes like tweak some things, but
Yeah.
everybody has like the rough draft of it on
Yeah,
Wednesday.
So it would be nice to have 3 business days, so if we have questions as board members, and we're not getting it till Thursday or Friday, sometimes we don't have time to contact the administration and ask questions. So it would be nice that, to have that reflected
Just have it in the
policy.
language. I
Yeah.
just would worry if like there was like a school holiday on a, or, what I mean, like that's
Yeah.
something that would mess us up, but I mean, I don't think it's a big issue if that's,
No, I think,
make it-
following rule of policy, and
Yeah.
that's how our practice, we should have that adjusted to that, to the 5 business days. Or do
So
you
it
want
could
to
be
call them
3
business
it could be
days?
3 business days, because we're doing Wednesday, Thursday, Friday.
yeah, we get
Ah.
it on Wednesday and the
Yeah.
meetings are Monday, so it should be fine.
True,
Mhm.
true. Okay. You okay
3
with that?
business?
Yes.
Yes, please.
3 business, okay. Any other questions about double odd 6? Okay. We don't have double odd 5.
I'm not sure what happened there.
Well,
That's okay.
there's always some, but it's okay. Yeah, we can go back and catch that next time.
Yeah, and we'll just put it on for next time.
Okay? All right. Review of policy 903, public participation in board meetings. So when you call up the red line, a lot of these comments here were suggestions by Mr. Hoffman based upon there. And so, Barb, I believe that's where you were making these adjustments and putting these in here. Okay.
Well, actually, it's from the PSBA
Oh.
PNN, but they also had what he had suggested, the
Yes.
list, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, yes, thank you. I misspoke on that one.
All right, so in this is how we, there's so many like lines crossed out, so we're kind of
Yeah,
like
it's-
moving to our new policy of like an hour in the beginning, we can add, like if we have one speaker left, we'll let a person talk, or whatever it is, and then try to keep it 30 minutes at the end. Is that how this?
I don't know if it says that. I
I
mean,
thought it said it.
It says
second-
60 minutes.
Then it says here, the second public comment period should be limited.
Oh, yeah, it does.
Yeah, that's what, it's kind of hard to
Yeah,
follow.
you're right, because there were things that were.
Yeah.
were red line. Yes, yes.
You can choose to do that, it's not.
Okay, I think
Right.
that's a good idea, I think, because it gets late, and, do we have anything about, we tried, like, especially for the second, try to get the people who hadn't had a chance to speak first, or is that?
That's
It's in there,
that They
okay.
can
That's in
speak
there.
I see it,
again,
see it.
as long
I got
as
it, see it.
anybody who hadn't spoken.
Thank you, I see it now,
And
yeah.
also, Amy, I think you should clarify that right now, as our policy reads, it says 1 hour.
Okay.
So really, when we say an hour in the beginning and a half an hour, it's an hour and a half.
It's an hour and a
versus
half
1 hour.
total, so it should be 90 minutes total, that we'll limit it to an hour in the beginning and 30 minutes at the end, yeah.
Yeah, I think it says 60 minutes at the beginning. way it reads.
Correct. Okay.
30 minutes at the end.
Okay.
Correct.
That's fine.
Yep.
But our
Yeah.
current policy.
Yeah, but this is what,
just
yeah.
Current- current
Yeah, current
policy
policy just
says
says
60
60
minutes.
minutes, but
Right,
this is
it
what we're.
doesn't say specifically at what times.
Oh,
Correct,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
correct.
That's why we're trying to clean
I
it
just,
up.
that's why I wanted
So
to
what
clarify,
would-
they're not taking anything away.
No,
They're
no,
just
yeah,
making
yeah,
it
we're not, yeah,
more
we're actually adding
explicit.
more time, so.
Right, yeah, that, very good. That was the statement
Yeah.
I was going to make,
Okay,
is we're,
thank you.
we're actually adding 30 minutes to the policy.
Well, we rarely hit the hour. We did give hours at the end. We've had meetings with hours at the end. I just want to make that clear.
Yeah,
So,
but we're not doing that, yeah.
I'm fine with 30, but.
I'm fine with
But we're-
30.
We're making the, yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
just,
Total of
I just-
90 total of 90 minutes. Yep.
And
But
it
I
does
also
say
think
in here
within
that.
you can make
if we felt the need that.
You
like,
can call an audible,
yeah,
that's
we can,
right.
yeah,
You can
correct.
call an audible, that's right.
I can't.
Do you want to start getting, kind of go through the little brackets that you get to decide whether you want them in or not?
Oh.
Just so I know.
Okay, what?
Okay, go the brackets, so start at 1.
So under
it-
authority,
District residents, taxpayers, and then we could add employees and students.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I think
I
that
see the
would be,
brackets.
I think yes on both of
Yeah.
those.
it's a
I'm
kind of-
okay.
It's on later, yeah, but go ahead.
Yep.
Oh, I'm sorry.
The preceding officer, the
Mhm.
next one.
Yep,
Yes,
I think
yes.
that's good, yep,
Yes, that's fine.
yep. I think the next one.
Page 2, the board shall provide a second public comment after the items for action or deliberation.
Yep, that's good.
I'm okay.
And then, page 3,
All individual comments documented.
That's, yeah, you did. that's
currently,
fine.
it's more of the second.
Okay,
set
so,
of
yeah, they,
records.
So if they do the second, sign the sheet, what is the completed document designated for request prior? Why is there 2?
I think we pick one.
Because
option.
it's an option, yeah.
I would pick the
So right
second
now,
one.
the second one is basically what they do
I think that's
now.
good.
Some people call ahead, but,
Mhm.
So that document that you're submitting to the board secretary prior to the start of the meeting, there
We don't
wants
have
you-
to do that.
we don't do that
We
currently.
don't do that now. We don't have to.
I
We just
don't-
have people
it would
sign up
just
and we
be-
can keep it like that.
So do we need that in there?
No.
No.
It's
Oh,
It's,
okay.
this is an
brackets
either or.
mean- The bracket means it's an option.
Yeah.
Okay, so
Mhm.
I was
So we'll go with the
confused. Okay.
second one?
Yes, yes,
Are we
the
good?
second one, yes.
Okay, then after the list there, after number 4.
This has come up in the past before. Are we going to allow this? Let somebody speak on behalf of an organization? I think we should. I mean, it's come up before. What is? It's,
What kind of, do you have an example?
well,
tonight-
when some
Do we
people.
have them tonight? We had them tonight.
Somebody was speaking.
Yeah, people were speaking, yeah, I guess so, they were speaking
Yeah.
on
The
behalf
staff.
of staff, or we've
I got
had.
emails, I read the emails I got, or came
Yeah.
over a letter from someone.
So I think that's okay
Yeah,
to
I think
leave that
that
in. Statement of presiding officer, I'd leave that in. President's statement, yeah,
Right.
that's fine. Okay, this is where I get confused down here.
Okay, we already talked about the
Yep,
time.
30 minutes, yep.
Where is it?
Commentators may.
Page 4.
2, 3, 4, okay. Did we talk about commenters may not?
That's where we are.
Yeah, that's where we're
that's
on
where
right
we're
now.
at.
Yeah.
I don't know, that was in the PSBA revision, remember, or one of those, something that,
That's from PSBA.
it is from
Mhm.
PSBA, that's what I
It's a
thought I
fairly
got it.
common provision.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep, that stays. I mean, I
Okay.
think we should
Which
keep-
one?
We should, commentators
Commenters.
may not cede their time to other individuals.
We're
That's-
keeping that?
Oh, yeah, I would keep
Okay.
that, yeah.
Yep.
Okay. Yep. I
So
think-
when we say no individual may speak more than once in the same topic, we
And-
have a beginning and an ending, so.
Yes, I think, yes.
Does that apply?
So
Mhm.
you have to read, if
You have to keep reading it.
The whole thing, may speak more than once on the same topic in either public comment session unless all
There's time
others who
left.
wish to speak on that topic have been heard and there's time remaining in the public.
Okay.
Mhm. So I think that's good, and we
Obvious
can leave
together.
that.
I guess I have a question about that, in the
Mhm.
sense of, if someone makes a comment prior to the meeting, we take an action, and then they have a comment to follow up. Would that be considered two different topics or the same topic?
I think what it's saying here is that before that person should speak, we should allow others to have opportunity to speak if they haven't spoken yet.
Yeah.
Got
Then
it.
they- yeah.
So,
Yeah.
but then I think it also says you can't speak more than once on the same topic.
Unless there's, until everybody else has spoken.
Right.
Oh, got it.
So then, yeah,
Right.
yeah.
Perfect. Okay,
So they
thank you.
can, you just have to give everybody else a chance first.
Can we finish with that thought?
Mm-hmm.
So in that same section, it says the presiding officer, okay, prior to that, it says, are we taking this out? I'm not, all statements shall be directed to the presiding officer. Is that staying in or staying out?
We haven't talked about it yet.
We haven't gotten
so
down there yet.
Oh, okay.
That's our next one.
Is
to
that the
talk
next
about.
one?
Mhm.
Do you want me
So
to?
number 7 was recommended to be struck out by Mr. Hoffman, and then instead adding the next line.
Wait,
I got you.
Waive the
Okay.
Wait, I
board's
think
rules.
Barb's jumping ahead. Christina's at this, where it says, all statements shall be directed to the presiding officer.
Are we not there?
Oh,
That's-
I'm sorry.
That's
Yeah.
where we are. We're recommended to take that out.
Okay.
Okay, and then the next one, though, is new. It says, the presiding officer and the district solicitor have the authority to, and then all this, then. there's
Okay,
that
I
other
just
one.
wanted to
Okay.
make sure what that little
Wait.
line at the beginning, sorry.
Okay, Go ahead, Mr.
That was just striking that's one of those options.
Oh,
So
it's an option. I
Right
would-
now, your draft has that.
Correct.
As
Okay.
part of the policy, saying that statements shall be directed to the presiding officer. If you want to strike it, you've got to tell us to strike
Okay,
it.
I would recommend striking that. What
I
do you
think it should come out.
Yeah, I think
Okay,
we should take.
I just want to make sure I'm
The
on
one
same
where,
one.
I'll read it.
Okay.
All statements shall be directed to the presiding officer. No participation may
Yeah.
address. Strike that.
Yeah, that should come out.
Got it.
Okay. And then. Okay, I think that's all good. Okay. So we're deciding if we're adding where the presiding officer's ruling, is that where we're up to now? Ruling
Mhm.
regarding public comment is disputed, it may be over, yeah, I think we should have that. Okay. I think the next ones with the recording, that should go in, right? About keeping the
Yep, that's what we do.
open record or open records,
That's
okay.
ASBA, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. That's what the bold one is. Okay.
Okay, I'm not sure on this next one. Public comment recorded.
Okay, so when you have committee meetings,
Mhm.
it's an option to have public comment unless held as a committee of the whole.
Now, are we talking joint governance, or we're talking like a committee of the, because if it's.
Well, technically, that's good. So we don't have the thing, at the moment, we don't have anything called a board committee.
No, yeah, we don't have
call them
those, no,
committees. So we either need to change that to joint governance meetings,
Mhm.
board joint governance meetings, or
Okay.
we have to go back and start using the word committee.
Okay. But you're not talking about like a committee of, like, when they got together and did the.
No.
Yeah, like those.
This would
things.
be
Okay,
like
gotcha. I didn't think so.
finance,
Okay.
student, staff.
Uh-huh.
So unless held as a joint governance meeting as opposed to committee of the whole. That's what
Right.
you're
Yes, I
saying.
think so, yes. I think that word,
Okay.
that needs to change.
So that's the only change there.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Well, if I may, there's
Sure.
two options there.
Okay, go ahead.
The first sentence, the first option is public comment will be permitted, or will be at the discretion of the committee unless it's a joint governance meeting.
Discretion.
Discretion, yeah.
Right. The second one is that those meetings would not include a public
Right.
comment period. I guess it's.
It's been our practice to use discretion. I think it should continue.
Yeah,
I would think
that's fine.
appropriate.
Mhm.
Thank you.
But also, just for clarification, I mean, the reason why you have all these changes, there's been case law, there's been changes to the Sunshine Act, so all that has precipitated these recommended revisions.
Whoever did this, though, should have anticipated us doing this at 10:30 at night.
Yeah, they should have color-coded it.
I'm getting a headache looking at all this
That's
stuff.
that leadership team of ours, isn't it?
Squiggly, the
Oh, my
squiggly
God.
brackets.
Yeah.
Man,
So many lines.
Okay, I think we got it.
Okay.
Barb, Mrs. Williams, you okay?
Yep.
Got it? Okay. All right, thank you.
And Barb, by the way, my red lines are black lines.
Yeah, mine, I know.
They've changed that, I don't
I thought it was just my eyes stopped working.
All right, moving on, 11.01 reports. Dr. Miller, you want a brief update?
Yeah, just earlier tonight, the board approved retirements for a number of staff, and those staff members combined have made an unbelievable impact on the organization. And I just we will recognize them in a retirement ceremony here, but again, just tremendous commitment to the families, students of this community.
Yep.
Thank you, yeah, look forward to that. Okay.
Somebody's raising their hand.
Just one really quick report too. We have had our 6 school sustainability club kids helping out with planning the Earth Day event that's going to be at Pine Township on April 27th. So I just wanted to make note, if you're looking for something to do between 11 a.m. and 6 p.m. on April 27th, come out to Pine Park. We will have a Pine-Richland table, and our sustainability club kids will have some activities. There is also a recycled, upcycled fashion show, recycled, upcycled art show that our kids have helped put together. So we have lots of student leaders doing that. I just wanted to give them a little plug so that people have time to put that on their calendars.
Very good, thank you.
And then Leslie and I wanted to give a A.W. Beatty report.
Okay.
Regards to the proposed vertical expansion that's we're being discussed right now.
Carry on.
Right now, at our next meeting, at the end of this month, we will be discussing a financial model that we will be looking at. Us as Pine-Richland, as one of the member school districts, we're looking at around a 10%, how much we would be on the line for in regards to the expansion. And depending on how we go about it, which models we choose from, we could be looking at between $112,000 to $140,000 a year that we would have to be on the line for.
And that is something that is typically in the finance plan and so forth. Yeah,
Yes.
You say he's not surprised. Yeah.
Well, that would be in the Beatty budget, right?
Yes.
Yeah, so there's a separate Beatty budget.
Very good.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
But I have one question. So
Yes.
do you both then vote on that during your meeting at Beatty? And then do you have to have like board approval to vote that?
We're trying to figure that out still.
Oh, okay.
If we vote on it first and then take here as a board and then take it back to Beatty,
Yeah.
or if we vote it on it at Beatty and then we bring it to the board.
Okay.
Still not clear on that one.
Okay. Anything else? Okay, all right, 11.02, recognition of visitors. Mrs. Williams?
Okay, we have a few people. I'm going to call on the people who haven't spoken yet. The first speaker would be Sam Bailey.
Hi, everyone. Sam Bailey. I live on Dennis Drive, and I have a daughter who's in 4th grade at Eden Hall. Early on in my development and training as a therapist, as a reminder, I'm a friendly neighborhood therapist and counselor educator, I learned a concept regarding widening my therapeutic lens. As a therapist, it's vitally important for me to consider all aspects of what a client is experiencing. Why? Because it's not my job to impose or inject my personal, political, or spiritual beliefs onto a client. Therefore, I widen my lens. In widening a lens, room is made for so many possibilities. Just because I hold a set of beliefs doesn't give me the right, as a therapist, to railroad someone with those very beliefs. As scared as some parents are that social emotional learning curriculum is threatening in-class learning, I'm terrified with what is happening with the majority of the school board. It's beyond evident how personal, political, and religious beliefs have crept in and appear to be here to stay. Just lastly, the definition of trauma echoes that of the Center for Disease Control's definition, the American Psychological Association, and the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual's definition. It's not a term that can be, I guess, whittled down to be more specific, because unfortunately it then excludes a lot of people who might even consider being here tonight traumatic to them, right? So it took me about a minute to find those three definitions and to discern that the definition that was presented tonight was actually more than applicable. And I had to stop myself for a minute when I noticed that an agenda item was the Calm app, which I thought it was April Fool's Day. Thank you.
Thank you.
Our next speaker, Jessica Taylor.
Hello, Jessica Taylor. I live on Edgehill Drive, have 3 students in the district at Hance, Eden Hall, and at the high school. I had some things I wanted to say today, but I might not get to them because I want to take the chance to read one of the anonymous letters or emails from one of the Pine-Richland staff members. I believe it was emailed out, but whether or not it was read, I don't know, and I think everybody has the opportunity to hear it now. So this is from a staff member at Pine-Richland. The counselors are indispensable. Children come to school each day with more baggage than just their backpacks and their lunch boxes. Our jobs as classroom teachers is focused on the academics while we rely on other support, the other parts of our students. Nurses for cuts, scrapes and medicines, phys ed teachers for students' physical health, etc. Counselors support the big feelings that all kids have. Learning how to manage feelings and conflicts is so important to growing up and quite literally saves kids' lives. Our counselors definitely manage busy schedules while being able to grind to a halt to deal with immediate, time-sensitive concerns, suicidal ideation, threats, and sudden deaths of family members, to name a few. In short, I cannot do my job and educate my students without our skilled counselors here. I have had 5 students in the past 8 years of employment suddenly lose a parent. Expecting these children to have the ability to focus on their academics is nearly impossible during such times in their lives. Counselors make this possible. They offer a listening ear and a shoulder to cry on, words of encouragement, advice to maintain and repair relationships, and a safe space for their thoughts and feelings. Direct instruction during classroom lessons provides students with skills that will help them manage during trying times. These lessons occur in the classroom when children are not currently experiencing trauma. That way, when and if they are presented with difficult circumstances, they feel equipped to manage and have a tool chest of coping mechanisms to employ when necessary. Support our counselors, support our teachers, and support our children. And I just want to thank Dr. Miller as well for taking the time, and anybody else from the committee, to do the book reviews and the amount of time spent doing that. And I'm sure with reading each of those books as well, it was probably not easy because they are very difficult books to read. So I just want to thank you for that as well. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, next speaker is Katie Postrich.
This is a letter that you have not yet received because I just received it this afternoon from a teacher, an elementary age, K through 3. So this says, Dear school board members, I am writing on behalf of the elementary guidance counselors. I want to start by thanking those of you who have already supported their curriculum. As a classroom teacher, I find so much value in having our school counselor come into my classroom to help support, guide, and educate my students. The whole group lessons that are shared with students are designed to reach all students, many of whom identify with characters and stories that are read aloud and find comfort in knowing they are not alone when experiencing big feelings. Lessons also include helping students identify trusted adults who they can see out in the school environment when these big feelings happen. Additionally, counselors work to make stories come to life by sharing real-life examples and scenarios, which include staff members the students know and love. During these lessons, I noticed many, if not all, students engaged, excited, and reflective of their own thoughts, feelings, and actions. These whole class lessons help to build a sense of respect and community amongst young classmates in both the classroom and school-wide environments. It is my hope that you will consider the numerous benefits of having school counselors visit classrooms to speak with and educate all students, therefore passing their curriculum plan. Educating the whole child includes supporting them academically, socially, and emotionally. Thank you for your time. And I will just add that we could probably lessen a lot of these comments if we would just get some acknowledgments from the board whenever you guys receive our emails. It's just simple. Even just say, thank you, I'm going to read it. That would be great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Our next speaker is Brittany Kindersmith.
Hi, Brittany Kindersmith, live in Richland. Before I read my teacher letter, I just wanted to mention that several folks didn't give commentary tonight about the counseling curriculum because we were under the impression we would have an opportunity to do that before an April 15th meeting that was announced via email. By changing that meeting date, you're asking the counselors to become available on a different date than they had planned on, and yet again have limited the public's ability to comment, which speaks further to your flimsy governance. Now I'd like to read a letter from a Pine-Richland staff teacher. I would like to offer my support for the work of our school counselors and the curriculum that they worked so hard to put together. Our school counselors are on the front lines and wear multiple hats during any given school day. They support students academically, socially, and emotionally when needed. In some buildings, counselors are tasked with building relationships with over 300 children per grade level. This is a daunting task. One of the best ways to accomplish this is by making appearances in classrooms. The classroom lessons done by counselors serve multiple purposes. These lessons provide information and skills that could be needed by students at some point to navigate difficult circumstances. These lessons also provide students with an opportunity to see their counselor on a regular basis and know that their counselors are true partners with their classroom teachers. These lessons have occurred in my classroom multiple times per year for several years and have been extremely beneficial. These lessons happening in the classroom allow me as the teacher to hear what is taught so that I can then support and reiterate those ideas and skills throughout the school day when needed. All students being a part of these lessons also allows friends of students having trouble to be a resource to them. They can suggest or remind their friends of the information taught in these classroom lessons as a show of help or support. While they may not need the skills themselves, a gentle reminder to a friend may be just what they need to get through a trying situation. These lessons taught in the classroom also allow the teacher in the room to be an active participant in the lesson. This, again, reinforces that we all work together to support educating the whole child daily. The need for these skills to be taught to the entire student body is truly at an all-time high. Students arrive in our classrooms daily dealing with situations they are not equipped to navigate on their own. Mental health has to be a primary concern regardless of whether certain parents want to admit it or not. I see the need every single day throughout our school building. It has been said that these lessons caused missed academic instruction. These lessons do not cause any more
15-second
missed instruction
warning.
than school assemblies, school pictures, field days, etc. All of these activities are seen as valuable enough to miss instruction. Why is the mental health of our students not thought of in the same way? Social emotional education is not required, but
Thank
if we
you.
are
Thank you
going to
very
be the
much.
top district
The
we
next
claim,
speaker,
then we
please.
should do what is best for kids.
Thank you.
Next speaker is Mike Barber.
What's up? Mike Barber, Richland Road, as some of you know. But I wanted to pull out what Dr. Miller was talking about, a lot of people retiring. Miss Hoffman, this is her last year, but I wanted to highlight Mr. Jeff, the site manager for Hance Elementary. He's been there for 16 years. His last day, I believe, was this past Friday. He's been amazing. The help that he gives to PTO for the events that we put on after hours when, I mean, it's as simple as where to place a bounce house because we thought we had the outlet accounted for and it wasn't accounted for. We didn't have the right, I forget what it was, but he's there to catch a lot of these small mistakes to save us the embarrassment of not being able to plug in the bounce house or the small things that arise when these events are going on by volunteers. And so Mr. Jeff we're going to miss him immensely. A bunch of kids. We're getting teary-eyed on Friday when I walked in to give him his going-away present. But great guy. His successor, Mr. Jeff, as well, because they're both Mr. Jeff. One's Mr. Jeff with a hat, and one's Mr. Jeff without a hat, according to the kids. But Mr. Jeff is an asset that is a nice replacement, but you can't give enough appreciation to Mr. Jeff. I can't remember if he's the hat one or no hat. I just remember him with
hat is retired. No hat.
Firm handshake. Mr. Jeff is what I call him. But I also wanted to thank the board member that's on the end. When I first heard about the scoreboard, I did not think that it was needed or we shouldn't go after it, but after listening to you and Mr. Zimmerman, I see that it is more of a need and it makes sense to purchase it now. And with getting $16,000 to $20,000 on our system now, it feels reasonable to expect an increase with the capabilities that we're having. So I was happy to see that and be approved. Thank you.
Next speaker.
Our next speaker, Teresa Dawson.
Hello. I wanted to voice my disappointment in the missed opportunity for the correction of the long-standing missed opportunity for curriculum transparency. Curriculum transparency, that falls with you, the board. Parents aren't always as involved as we think they should be, and teachers aren't always as well-intentioned as we think they should be. And so therein lies the missed opportunity for us to have more definition in the curriculum and more academic leadership. We simply lack policy and process here to confirm what is shown or selected for exposure in a classroom so that parents are aware in full ahead of time. So I'm sorry that it was a 5-4 vote for that, and I wanted to ask you to revisit that at some point. Secondly, it's probably pretty common for those in the psychological or counseling world to understand the term microaggression. It's a word that's used to define when people use commentary that is directly disrespectful. And I think this administration uses it, and so do a lot of people who make comments. It is not political to have a personal opinion about whether a book is or is not preferred. So parents or community members who voice a concern about a piece of literature should not be categorized as being political or religious or be told to keep your personal values at the door. We are a community, and we should start to act like a community, not a political activist force that divides rather than unites. It's very disheartening, and there's a lot of opportunity to bring the community together and select our words more carefully. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker.
And our last person is Jennifer Bues.
Hello, Jennifer Bues. Thank you for allowing me to speak. I wanted to comment on the revised public discussion item, minimizing. It is decreasing the public's ability to speak in that before it was sometimes 1 hour in the beginning and 1 hour in the end. So I just don't know why you would want to limit public input on occasion. It doesn't happen that often, especially when the governance is lacking and we're discussing minute details for 10, 15 minutes at a time. And I want to say I appreciate you all looking at me while I'm speaking. I really do. I found it really unsettling when the students were speaking, and I noticed some of you weren't paying attention to them, but maybe it was just when I looked. I want to thank you all for your time, and I again want to speak in support of our teachers, in support of our counselors, in support of our librarians. They are the lifeblood of our schools. Our counselor curriculum plan, please support the plan. Get Angel of Greenwood for the 9th grade text. All right, thank you.
Ms. Williams, is that it?
That is it.
Okay, so that's it. We move to 12.01, adjourn the meeting. Okay, thank you all.